Welcome back to another edition of Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. That means we got so much to discuss. We'll get into it full Monty, though, so that means we got all 4 hours to get into it. We'll talk about the national title game tonight, preview that matchup. Also, we'll talk about Rodney Terry setting the record straight about exactly how much he's contributed to this current Texas basketball team. Tyrese Hunter, some big news there, but also the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese conversation. We'll get into it right here on Ball Don't Lie. But also Peter King suggesting the Texans may take an alternate path with that number 2 overall pick. We'll also talk about how Bijan Robinson has been the favorite to the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get into Texas spring football news, notes, and nuggets. We'll get into some of the nuggets from the spring scrimmage they had over the weekend. All of that and more. Before we do, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He was a second-round pick for the Montreal Expos, for the first-round pick for the Austin Radio Network. He originally committed to the University of Texas, but decided to forego the 40 acres and chase his dream in the cheese. Pimping ain't easy, but for this man, it's a breeze. He is the Mike Hardball Hards. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Back at it, man. And it's funny, too, because this narrative about this trash talking. Rod, you was a high-level football player, played in the league.
Come on now.
That's what the game is all about. I don't understand how, especially people that don't watch the sport at all, have something to say about it. That's the thing that's really irritating to me. And then they got to do my man Rob Babers backpedal. You know what I'm saying? They had to do the backpedal. There was a lot of backpedaling on what they were doing. They didn't know how to turn them hips, though. They didn't know how to turn them hips. But let me talk about my man that sits across from me. He hails from H-Town with the Get Down. He's a lifetime Longhorn and a proud card-carrying member of DBU. Legendary Lifetime and now College Football Hall of Fame Longhorn Derek Johnson said he was the best cover corner he had ever seen. He's a former NFL DB that still has that passion for film study, but he's not a fan of white condiments. But, of course, he is a fan of you, the listeners. He is my man and yours, Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro as always. Let's not waste any time introducing the real MVP, one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what he's paid. We do know he's underpaid. He's Patrick Davis. What's going on, Patrick?
Hey, man, it's another Monday getting it done.
National title game tonight, so we'll get into previewing that matchup a little bit later on here in this segment, or a little bit later on in the show, depending on how this segment goes. There's some Rodney Terry audio that we got to get to that's pretty interesting, that I thought was pretty cool. We'll get to that. Also, some news with Texas basketball that we'll discuss. But honestly, with the national title game tonight between the men's national title game tonight, the women's national title game, and what transpired during that game seems to be one of the hottest topics of conversation around the country. Now, LSU won, and it was a pretty, I don't say it was a dominant win, but it was a commanding one. All right, 102-85, Harge. But you even
102. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, it was a big one. I mean, it wasn't that. They did have a run. Iowa had a run. They brought it close to a thing like that. I was like 7. Points, something like that.
They ran it down. They were up by 21 at one point.
Yeah, at one point it was it was an Old Testament style butt whipping at one point. But then they brought it pretty close. That wasn't the top story. So the top story is first of all, Caitlin Clark is a phenomenal player. She actually ended up breaking the tournament record for most threes and points scored in the tournament. So she just had an all-time great tournament, and she became a star. Yep. Basically, yeah, kind of a household name among sports fans during the tournament. But, of course, she was on a losing team. A lot of people thought she should have won Most Outstanding Player. She did not. The young lady that won Most Outstanding Player was Angel Reese. For LSU, and she's a freak. Like
she is an
freak
absolute baller.
Yeah, she's a beast out there, man.
She is
really
an absolute baller.
Yeah, she really. I mean, I watched several highlights of her. I like her style. I think she's great. But
34 double doubles, by the way. 34 double doubles.
And and like I said, really, team reflects leadership. She reflects. Honestly, Kim Mulkey's personality.
Exactly.
She's very braggadocious.
That's why people hate Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why people hate Kim Mulkey.
She dresses better than Kim Mulkey, in my opinion. But hey, it is what it is, right?
Hey, I don't dress myself. These people, I got a fashion designer. They just send me stuff.
And for the record, I'm a Kim Mulkey fan. I'll admit that too. I'm a Kim Mulkey fan. I like what she does. I like her style. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand here. So during the game, but toward the end when it was already settled, Angel Reese decided to, by the way, to taunt Caitlin Clark with one of her own kind of signature, like it was kind of her signature. She does
Taunting. That's her signature taunt.
I don't know. I want to call it a taunt.
I do.
It's not signature. I would say move, but it's not a move in basketball. But yeah, that's her thing. Like it's something that's unique to her. She hits a shot, has a great moment. She likes to celebrate, so it's her signature celebration.
Okay.
Maybe that's a better way to say it for
her.
All right? Yeah, you're right, though. You're right.
Yeah.
You're just being real with keeping it. Yeah, you're just keeping it real.
I'm trying to keep it 100.
But no. She taunts her opponents. When she makes a big shot, she gets something, she does something really well. She'll taunt her opponents by doing essentially the John Cena, you can't
Tony
see me.
Yayo. Let's make sure Tony Yayo.
Yeah, we got audio of that, right, to get that correct, though. But most people know it from John Cena. They don't know. Most people don't know Tony Yayo. You saying Tony Yayo, you got like 2% of people out there right now listening that know who Tony Yayo is. Not many of them do. Not many of them, Harsh.
Correct.
Okay, we're in Austin.
You and I do.
We're in Austin, Texas. Not many of them. God bless them. We all love them. But not many of them. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second because we got some audio of that. But she did that and also pointed to the ring finger to taunt Caitlin Clark, also to show that, obviously we're about to win the championship, get the rings, and you're not. All right, so with all that being said, now it's become a big topic of conversation because Caitlin Clark, like I said, her signature celebration now used, against her by her opponent in the championship game. Some people are calling this classless. Keith Olbermann pretty much led the charge.
Of course. Of course.
In the Twitterverse, where he basically captioned a video of her of Angel Reese taunting Caitlin Clark with a "What a effing idiot." Mm-hmm. That was his caption on it. And then there were others who followed.
But what did Shaq tell him?
What was Shaq's response?
Shaq told him, "Shut your ass up. Don't be hating on her."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know why Keith Olbermann was so passionate about it, but he was. Danny Cannell was another guy. He put out their classless. So to me, this is, first of all, I just want to applaud women's basketball right now.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies.
Get their moment, man.
I don't think we've ever led off the show talking women's basketball. So, God, this is fantastic. This is good for you. And it's got all the elements you need.
It does.
It's got sexism. All right. It's got racism thrown in there,
It's
too.
got every ism you would want.
It's got every ism you thrown in there, too.
Yeah.
And then you got it's a generational thing, too. So, ageism.
I agree.
Right? Because there's a generation of people who just hate trash talking at any level or any celebratory stuff during the game at all. They just hate all that. They don't like it at all. My dad's probably in that group at all. They just don't like any of it. And then some people like us kind of grew up in. I grew up in the Deion prime time era. So I was trying to get to a point where I could celebrate. I didn't get many of those occasions, but I'm gonna make it count. All right, I'm gonna have a good time when I do it. Sure. And so I think there's just so many different storylines thrown into it. So it is right now, if not the hottest sports topic in the country. All right, and I just want to congratulate the ladies because I always say that villains create conflict and conflict creates storylines. You got a ton of conflict here. Both of these ladies are seen as villains depending on what side of the argument you're on here. Mm-hmm. I think it's just great. And I look at sports as entertainment. Some people are taking this way too seriously, by the way.
Agreed.
Agreed. Some identity politics into the matter and all that kind of stuff. That's ridiculous. No, this is like WrestleMania. To me, this is the same thing. I'm like, no, man, we got to enjoy it for what it's worth. Let's not get too into it. But I do think it's fantastic that now you have these really great storylines because you have these fantastic characters.
Agreed.
Right? The character development has been amazing. Caitlin Clark becoming like a star throughout the tournament, 240-plus point games, Magic Johnson and Steph Curry and all these stars remarking on how great she is. And then LSU comes out and they love to be the villain. And Kim Mulkey's a natural villain.
Oh, my goodness.
She can't help but be a villain.
Yeah.
And then you got your villain going up against from Iowa. All right. And they couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
I mean, both these teams and personalities, all that kind of stuff. I just think I want to applaud the ladies. I think it's great.
I do too.
I think it's great.
I think it was a great call. I have been following women's basketball. My son filled out a bracket. You know what I'm saying? Because we're into the game. We're always about it. So we've known about Caitlin Clark for the last 2 years. Okay. We've known about these types of players. I remember when Reese was at Maryland. She went to Maryland first, and she was telling people, this is who I am. This is where I grew up, and I grew up on the court where you had to be able to talk trash. That's what it's all about. And if you know anybody that plays a sport at a very high level, they talk trash, period. You may not like it. It may not be for you, and that's okay. But you don't talk about other people and try to talk down on them because they can do something you can't. And that is the problem that I have with it, where everybody started really going after her for something that Caitlin Clark has done to many people. And here's the bottom line about it all. She didn't care. The people that are all upset and up in arms, they weren't participating in that game. They didn't know what the backstory was. They didn't know about the mutual respect when they were playing against each other because they both are at the top of their games. As I just said, we talked about the 40-point games. That's great. She broke Cheryl Swoop's scoring record. But Angel Reese just had 34 double-doubles this year. Think about that. Talented. No question. And she fed to what people kept saying to her the entire year. Y'all too ghetto. Y'all so this. Y'all so that. Man, whatever. They was hooping. And we got a chance to watch a basketball game, which this has taken so much away from them. Like, they both played great basketball games last night. And the one team got hot and the other team did not. And that's it. I watched the entire game. My family went to that game. We bought tickets to that game last night.
Wow.
They were in the house. And enjoying every minute of it. And I even got a text from my wife, and she was like, why is everybody worried about what these two people are saying to each other? Because your wife played at a high level of soccer. My wife did too. They talk trash just as much as anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. That's part of it. Like with seeing women talk trash makes some people uncomfortable. I think that's just fair to put out there. They're not used to it, and these ladies they do it well.
Yes,
right. They do it, and like I said, I have no problem with it. I always said it, and to your point about Caitlin Clark, this is kind of the culture of basketball that she grew up in. It's like, hey man, you just talk trash. This is what you do.
Yeah.
I remember going to the 7-on-7s.
Oh,
recently.
Man. Yeah.
And I remember telling Harge, I was like, dude, this is way different. The trash talk culture with the young, every time they catch a pass or every time they do anything, they always got something to say or
about
a gesture or something, a celebratory move. I swear I never did that. I knocked down a pass, like I would go to my crew and then we would, we'd dap it up, we'd do something. And we had, I will admit, when I got to college, we'd have kind of the old school, man, we did a high five. We did a leaping high five.
Right.
That was our thing. We'd make a play, leaping high five with each other. That was about it.
Right.
All right. The 7-on-7 high school level. And you witnessed this.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, the trash talk going on.
Correct.
I would probably be in a couple of scuffles every time. It's unbelievable.
It's too easy.
Constantly.
It's too easy now because everybody has something to say.
So there is a different culture of the trash talk that
sure.
obviously they're growing up in than the ones we grew up in. I like the, there's a difference between taunting and stunting. Right? Hear about this, and I can bring it back to a wrestling thing. We just had WrestleMania, so I can bring it back to a wrestling reference. Ric Flair doesn't taunt; he stunts.
Yeah,
because that's who Ric Flair is.
That's who he is.
All right,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's stunting.
Yep.
That's who Stunting is a habit. That's Ric Flair. It's a habit. It's habitual for him to stunt. I would say
still to this day. Yeah.
I would say for a lot of these athletes, Caitlin Clark and for Angel Reese, and I went and watched some clips of Angel Reese before she was going up against Caitlin Clark. She just to try to specify her kind of stun and was a taunt, but she lets all of her opponents know.
Yeah.
How she how she feels, and then she lets all her opponents know. She just that's a trash talk culture going on there too. So both of these young ladies,
you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You win some, you lose some. But when it comes down to it, one of you are gonna back it up. They both played great during this game, so that's respect. But then there's also let me give you a little bit of this because you've been doing it to everybody all season long. talking that trash. And now all of a sudden, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, right? And so now all of a sudden we win or they win, and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe she did that. But it was, what's that song say? It's cool when they do it, but when I do it, it's a problem.
I honestly, either way, like I said, look, it is entertainment, people. So you can't take it too seriously. All right. Wow. I know a lot of y'all try to get political with this whole thing, but the truth is, it's brilliant storylines, and in terms of bringing people to the game who normally wouldn't be attracted or interested in the game, it's done a really good job. So I'll applaud them for that. LSU ends up winning, and Kim Mulkey wins her her fourth national title as head coach.
And that's the other part.
In her second year.
That's the other part. Like, everybody's taking away the fact, because everybody wanted that good, wholesome story of, they slayed the giant, LSU.
That was wholesome?
No, I'm saying. But I'm talking about Kim Mulkey. People didn't want Kim Mulkey to win.
No, they don't like Kim Mulkey.
They don't want Kim Mulkey to win.
No.
And she just goes out there and do her job. This is the main thing that you got to look at when you look at Kim Mulkey. She's a damn good coach.
Oh, yeah.
She wins, and she wants the best out of her players. She don't care where you come from. You're going to come to this court, and you're going to give me everything that you got. And if not, I'm going to demand it. And if you can't handle it, I ain't built for everybody. And she went out there and won in her second year. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, this team won 9 games, bro.
That's wild.
They won 9 games, and then last year they won 26, and this year she goes out there and wins a championship. Yeah. And she was like, I don't know how we did it. We did it, but I don't know how.
I like your Kim Mulkey there. I don't know how. But no, it's interesting that it's become such the hot topic. It is one of the biggest sports stories in the country. And like I said, I applaud the ladies, man. They did a really good job of bringing women's basketball to the forefront, get people interested in the sport. Who gives a damn how you do it?
Right.
But they did it with great character development and storylines.
They did.
I mean,
you had villains
and heroes, and oh man, people took sides. It's fantastic.
Quickly,
people was on Twitter. Keith Olbermann. I mean, come on, Keith Obermann's a grown
man.
Is
he still around?
What an effing idiot! I'm like, bro, you couldn't have phrased that differently.
Yeah,
you were that passionate about it, but there you go. And you can bring out that kind of passion. I would phrase it differently, like I said. You could have said, I guess the classist thing is the best way to go, but I don't understand how it's classist.
I don't either.
I really don't get the.
I think what people are really the most that they're upset about is that she walked around the court.
She did follow her.
Yeah,
she did follow her. You know what? Let's hear from Caitlin Clark, because she is the one that was being, I guess, taunted. By the way, she does a lot of taunting. Yeah. All right, the shoe was just on the other foot this time, and she was on the other end of it by Angel Reese. She was asked about the taunting thing, period, and all the the extra showmanship during the games, which she herself has become famous for. And everybody loved her for it, by the way. She was asked about it. Here is what she had to say in her response.
Our final question to the left.
Hi, Caitlin. Jack Leader with KCRG. I remember a couple months back you said, people need to play with that fire. I play with that fire. And now here we are at the national championship game. Social media is buzzing over the quote-unquote 2 best trash talkers in the country, you and Angel Reese. I presume you view that actually as a positive thing, not a negative thing, playing with passion. Do you view it as a good thing for this game?
Absolutely. I think I view, matchups that people get really excited about as a really good thing for this game. I think that's what excites people and gets them to the TV. But when they turn the TV on, they understand it's not an individual game. It wasn't Caitlin versus Leah. We weren't even matched up against each other at all. It's not going to be Caitlin versus Angel. That's not what's going to win a national championship. But that's what gets them excited about watching the game. So I think more than anything, people are starting to understand women can play with, excitement and a passion and a fire about themselves. And, that's what's fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
She said, basically, I endorse this.
Yes.
This is my style of play. I want everybody to be playing like this.
Exactly.
And I got to tell you, if everybody's playing like that, then women's basketball probably would be a lot more interesting. Just because they'd be better players, but also you get a lot of trash talk. I love trash talk, by the way. And by the way, I remember Kobe Bryant saying that LeBron James didn't like the trash talk, and he always thought it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, he's never been that dude.
He always said that. He said, he never met a great star that didn't like the trash talk, because when you're that much better than everybody else, why not taunt them?
Right.
But LeBron James, he said LeBron James didn't like the trash talk. It just wasn't something LeBron liked to do. Kobe loved the trash talk. He got Kobe, it would basically motivate him for others to trash talk him. And same thing with MJ. I don't think MJ was trying to taunt people as much as he wanted fuel.
He really wanted to
He
destroy
wanted fuel.
you.
He wanted a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And at times he wanted to kind of fuel that motivational currency, and he would, stockpile as much of it as he could. So, everybody's a little bit different. I think it's, I don't have no problem with it. The refs. If the refs have a problem with it, then they should. By the way, the refs are a big part of this conversation. I know. People want to talk about the refs and how bad they were. They did call, was it 37 fouls?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, they called 37 fouls in the matchup. LSU did hit 11 of 17 from 3, though, and shoot.
Thank you.
Over 54% from the field.
Yep.
That's a big part of it. But yes, refs played a big role in it with the 37 fouls. I'm into storylines. I talk about storylines. That's what I'm into. I thought it was a great storyline. Hell, John Cena was even talking about it because she was doing what Caitlin Clark's "You Can't See Me" hand gesture or celebratory move is actually there's a. I think my man Zay did a great job too because I think he was referencing this. You talked about it too, Harge. It goes way back. It goes back. So John Cena was on, I think, with Jimmy Kimmel.
It was Jimmy Kimmel.
All right, and he talked about this. I don't remember. This clip was from a while ago. It actually wasn't.
Because he was wearing a super
this
hero
isn't
outfit.
Recent. Well, he's got a show on HBO Max. Can't think of the name of it. I'm sure Patrick, you might know it.
Peacemaker.
Yes, thank you very much. And I've actually watched the first season. I don't know if they got the second season yet. I watched the first. It wasn't bad at all. He's great. I think he's good. But either way, he was being asked about the move that, or at least a celebratory gesture that he's become famous for, the "You Can't See Me" thing, which Caitlin Clark did, and which obviously she was taunted with by Angel Reese. Here is his explanation of the background and the genesis for it himself and how he came up with it.
Developed a special maneuver in the WWE called the "You Can't See Me," in which I put my hand in front of my face and say, "You can't see me."
Yep.
And the reason I did this is because while we were making the album, to which my theme music is on, my younger brother Sean was always our litmus test. He kind of liked the same music, and he would never go to the studio with us, so we'd come home with our tracks, and we'd play it for him, and he was ruthless, man. He would never be satisfied with any song, and he heard "The Time Is Now," and just did this dance that Tony Yayo did in one of the G-Unit videos. It was like he put his hand over his head and just kind of like bobbed his head like that.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that.
And I was like, man, what are you doing? That looked like just ridiculous. He's like, no, man, it's a Tony Yayo dance is doing this thing. And I'm like, I'll do it on TV. And he's like, I dare you to do it on TV. Little did he know I'll do this on TV. So
yeah.
it was before that.
Dare John
So
Cena.
basically, on a dare, by absolute chance, I went out there and I figured this wasn't visible enough, so I wanted to do this. And the term "you can't see me" is like, well, you're not even on my level.
There you go.
There it is.
Yayo.
Yayo.
Tony
Yayo.
Of G-Unit. Yeah. I mean, that's G-Unit is 50 Cent's rap group that he famously was a part of. Obviously he was an independent artist, but he was a part of the rap group G-Unit where he had Tony Yayo. Oh man, who was the West Coast dude? The Game.
Oh yeah,
The Game was in it.
And so was Lloyd Banks.
Lloyd Banks.
Yeah, Lloyd Banks. Lloyd Banks.
Lloyd.
Remember Lloyd Banks?
I do remember Lloyd Banks.
Yeah, he was part of the crew.
Oh man, yeah, G-Unit. Man, I don't
and
even.
Young Buck.
You're right. Forgot about Young Buck about that. Man, I guess it was a deeper unit than I thought.
G-Unit.
I guess G-Unit. It was a deeper unit than I initially thought.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's the background on it. I mean, now Tony Yayo's happy because Tony Yayo's been
in a
Googled
conversation.
again.
Yeah.
He ain't been Googled and he's trending again. He's like, oh, dude, why am I trending? People thought Tony Yayo got killed or something. Tony Yayo dead? No. People just do a little background on what happened with Tony Yayo.
Love it.
All right. Okay, we'll come back. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets on the other side because Peter King has made a strange and wild accusation about what the Texans may or may not do in the NFL draft with that second overall pick. We'll also talk about who is the favorite for the Cowboys' 26th overall pick. We'll do that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team. If you have any concerns about your dental health or dental hygiene, you need to contact Dr. Greg Eckert. He can handle any issues that have anything to do with your general dentistry. Even if you have dental anxiety, which a lot of people have, they can ease your dental anxiety. As a matter of fact, they specialize in easing dental anxiety. Teeth whitening, though, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team are all about. And right now, he can give you a brand new smile in just 1 day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures until you complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, call Dr. Greg Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just 1 day. It sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. You. Give him a call, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. Or visit dreckert.com. That's DRUECKERT.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie, usually intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who team may have had a rough weekend. But, I mean, that was probably just Astros fans. Go Astros! Astros. Oh, Texas baseball.
Texas baseball did not have a good weekend.
Yeah, that was a little rough weekend there, losing the series to Okie State. Got a bounce back, though, game coming up tomorrow.
That's right.
For Texas baseball. What were your thoughts about the Texas-Oklahoma State matchup?
Well, it's like anything else when the same situation that I was talking to you about before. If you can't drive runs in when runners are in scoring position, it's going to come back to haunt you. And then you get a clutch situation where you have bases loaded and nobody out and you can't get a run across the plate. That is going to wear on you. But let's not forget, this team won 16 games in a row.
16?
Right. They moved themselves into the rankings. They've done a really good job. It's just situational stuff that they're going to have to continue to work on, and I'll touch on it a little bit in the Hard Knocks Life as well.
Yeah, I figured you would, but I just want to give people a little sneak peek there talking about Texas baseball. Shout out to the Texas Rangers, though.
The Rangers, 3-0 over the weekend.
How many teams are 3-0? Like three teams are 3-0
yeah.
in Major League Baseball right now?
And the Rangers are one of them. And that was after everybody was lighting us up on the opening day. Like it's opening day. And you going to tell me that it's over? Nothing's over.
No. That down 5 runs in the 4th inning of Game 1 to open up the season had Rangers fans pretty
Same
low.
old Rangers.
Yeah, there was a lot of angst on the Specs text line. Turns out, man, Rangers, and I would say you pointed out. Also, you and Chipper had a conversation about it when you brought Chipper on the show, Chipper Jones on the show, that y'all think the Rangers are going to surprise some people. Well, surprise.
The surprise, hey. And
now,
they can hit.
It's a long season, but surprise.
And they can hit.
Yeah, they can hit. No doubt.
They can hit.
And the pitching is going to get better.
Yeah, it's going to definitely get better. I was talking to a baseball friend of mine yesterday, and I was bringing up the fact. I said DeGrom's first start was against a team that knew him. It was against the Phillies. Phillies represented the National League and the World Series. They played against each other. They played against each other a lot because they were in the same division.
It's real.
So then you start looking at it when they start facing other teams that have never seen him before, it's going to be a different story. They had a book on him already, so they understood the assignment when they got to the plate. So there's a difference when those types of things. And for Corey Seager last year, he was new to the American League. They were playing in shifts. His average was down last year because of that. So now he's adjusted to the league. The league's seen him, and now he's going to start going again, and so things are changed.
Yeah, DeGrom's not going to have a performance worse than that.
No.
It's only going to get better.
It's going to get better for y'all on that point. That's right.
But no, yeah, man, Rangers fans, they're on cloud 9 right now, feeling real good about the way they performed at the Gilf.
At the Gilf.
All right, Specs X line 512-337-3776. Man, Harge is at Hardball Harge in Twitterverse. Patrick Davis, the real MVP at It's Patrick Davis in Twitterverse, and I'm at Rod Babers in Twitterverse. All right, gentlemen, how about this story? Peter King pointed this out in his Football Morning in America column, and I guess Patrick won't get freaked out because he's a former Texans fan. But as a Texans fan, it freaks me out just a little bit just to hear this. So he's basically, I'll read the excerpt here. He said we're all operating under the belief the Texans will pick a quarterback that Carolina leaves for them. I'm 90% on board with that. The Texans also picked 12th. He said, with that pick and 2 first-round picks next year, is it impossible to think they take the cleanest prospect in this draft, Alabama pass rusher Will Anderson, at 2, and get their quarterback slightly lower, somewhere around the 4th pick or after? He said, I think the Texans are going to go quarterback at 2, but in the last few days, I've heard this about Nick Caserio. Very conservative. If he doesn't love a quarterback at 2, he's not going to force it. He'd rather take this year's sure thing, which they are saying basically like last year's Aiden Hutchinson would be Will Anderson. He said he talked to one league personnel man, quote, it's a stretch, but I could see Nick taking Anderson, then using his 2nd first-round pick and trading back up to get his quarterback. Patrick, you actually pointed this out, too. It's one of your theories you had back then that made me really uncomfortable. Not going to lie. that the Texans could decide to go conservative here and just. But that I think we were talking about maybe they were getting a free agent quarterback then potentially.
Yeah, that
with
was
that theory.
Yeah,
but this is a different theory, I guess. But they're basically saying they may not take the value of whoever quarterback drops to them at 2. They may decide take what they think is a better value with Will Anderson and then drop down and trade back up potentially to get their quarterback, which I think would be a horrendous disaster. But it's the Texans, so all options are open to be the ultimate fuster-cluck of a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, this is, and I don't know if he's got new information or if it's the same information that's been there the whole time, which is we want to draft defense. We love defense. We think Will Anderson's really good, or we think Jalen Carter, we think whoever's really good, and we don't like any of these quarterbacks, really. We just don't, and I don't think we ever are going to like a quarterback. I'm pretty sold Nick Caserio wants like a Mac Jones. Like, he wants that quarterback who's not great, and the rest of the team will say, well, we don't want that guy. So I don't know if they're ever going to really love a quarterback until he gets there and plays for them. It just doesn't seem like this team likes quarterbacks. So I thought they could have gone after Jimmy G and then drafted drafted 2 guys, defensive players this year, and basically say, well, we're going to draft offense next year, but we're going to fix our defense first.
That would have worked. But
Jimmy G,
meantime,
we knew that he
wants to play. He wants to be more than a bridge quarterback and a stopgap.
Well, yeah, we know and Raiders now. All the rumors are they're drafting a quarterback with 7 because he's a bridge quarterback.
Right.
So
it is what it is. Yeah. That's why he didn't want to come to the Texans.
That is what I've said from day. I'm not gonna say I'm going back to the Texans until they don't do something stupid like this and go, oh, we'll take Hendon Hooker at 12. And we'll just hope that his knee gets better, and he's already 25. And I think Hendon Hooker is a good pick. I don't think he's a good pick at 12.
Yeah, the fans will riot, even if you trade back up to get Will Levis, who some people are saying he'll be there.
I think that's more of a right than Hendon Hooker, because Will Levis is. We're basing this off of a level of play that doesn't match. Like, we don't know what he can do. We really don't. We know he has the arm talent, but he could be a gigantic bust. He could be a star. But I think he's one of those guys where his floor is way below where anybody else's floor is.
Yeah, and to that point, Peter King had another, report within his Football Morning in America. This one has to do with the Panthers with the number 1 overall pick. Apparently, they are still conflicted as an organization. How about this? This is what Peter King says in his Football Morning in America column. He said about Frank Reich and his, preference about the height of his quarterbacks in terms of whether he likes Bryce Young or not. Quote, he said, you're the one who started that. He's talking about people's, the belief that he's all about big quarterbacks. Hey, Frank said that to Peter King at the league meetings about his quarterback height thing. Reich's been a QB coach, coordinator, or head coach for 17 years, and in all but 6 of those 17 years, his quarterback was 6'4" or taller. He said he told Peter King quarterback is not really height is not really a thing for him at quarterback. So 5'10" Bryce Young or 6'3" C.J. Stroud, not much of a difference unless they're looking at it obviously based on their own independent evaluation. But Peter King says a one-time long-time friend. All right, sorry, one long-time friend, not one time. One long-time friend of Frank Reich told him that the height thing is legit with Frank Reich. And though Reich hasn't told him so, this friend would be surprised if Young were Frank Reich's top choice. Reich's not saying the other thing I hear is several influential voices within the organization favor Bryce Young, including the owner. Yeah.
I like that.
Because a lot of people think the ownership favors Bryce Young and management does, but not Frank Reich. So they could go either way, or at least they're leaving the door wide open. They could go either way.
We also
who has the clear vote though?
Yeah,
the
ownership. And
owner.
I can tell you who did not have the clear vote in Indianapolis.
Yep, Frank Reich.
Frank Reich did not have. Exactly. I don't know if he had a vote at all in Indy.
That's true.
I mean, he probably did for Carson Wentz, but after that, I don't think he had any votes.
Carson Wentz would be the only one that I would say that he did have a vote for because he had a previous relationship with him, and they walked together, right? You know what I'm saying? They walked the same type of lifestyle. So when I look at that and I say, who has the final say? And if the owner is the one that's going to have that final say, you're going to get yourself something, and you might be getting Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think but sometimes the owners will let the guy they hire to do the job do the job.
I got you.
Some owners do. Some do, and sometimes those are the more successful owners.
I agree.
They are. But again, if the GM wants Bryce Young and the owner wants Bryce Young, and the coach wants C.J. Stroud,
it's like I'm outvoted.
I mean, then he goes, I'm trusting the GM that I hired, and he and everybody else says they want to go with Bryce Young because he's a better quarterback. And my coach is the only one who wants him, and that's just because he doesn't like short guys.
And by the way, these reports were 1 and 2 in Peter King's Football Morning in America.
Right.
So something tells me they might be somewhat related.
Very similar.
All right.
When you start looking at it.
Maybe he's hearing that the Texans like Bryce Young too.
Yeah.
Right.
And if the Panthers like Bryce Young, and they like Bryce Young, and they, C.J. Stroud is the guy that's like, well, yeah, I'll take C.J. Stroud, but I don't love C.J. Stroud.
Right.
Then I wonder if they'll think about going defense, going back to Patrick's theory, go defense, and then look to, compile more of your picks next year and say, we're going all in next year. It's going to get the number 1 overall pick, which
your chances of being that high again are.
This goes back to why didn't you just trade up to go get that
exactly
pick? And you still can, by the way.
Yeah, there's still time.
If you really love Bryce Young that much, go fight for her.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what women will tell you, right? If you
is that who you love?
If you
then
really
go fight for her. It sounds like a scene from a movie.
It's a romantic comedy, Texans. If you really love her that much, go fight for her. Damn it! Give up those picks. I'm just, what are you doing? Why you
go fight for her?
Don't settle.
Yes.
You tell your friends at all times, don't settle, man. Go, you know what I mean? Go get your soulmate.
So what you're saying is on draft night, if Texans are picked 2, I don't need a camera of the Panthers war room when they draft Bryce Young. I don't need that picture.
No,
I want the video
of the Texans
draft room when they draft whoever quarterback, and we see them elated or devastated.
Ding, 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 ding. Because right now they're rolling the dice. This is like they're playing roulette here.
C.J. Stroud is meeting with the
50-50.
Texans on Wednesday of this week. He is going to Houston to meet with the Texans. So maybe after Wednesday, they have a great meeting and they feel better about it, and then the reports change. Or maybe Wednesday, they feel worse about it, and the reports go further. Because, I'm with you. I think Bryce Young is the guy that most people would want.
They're coveting him.
Amen.
But it's not 100% a football decision there. I think the media has not talked about C.J. Stroud at all. He has basically been an afterthought. It was Bryce Young and Will Levis, and now it's Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. Mm-hmm. And those are the only guys who get talked. C.J. Stroud still has not really been a big talking point. So if you're an owner or if you're a guy who's just more focused, if you're looking at I want a star, C.J. Stroud right now has 0 star attraction because you're like, dude, you're clearly the second best quarterback in this draft, and still nobody cares.
No, you're right. There's more talk about Bryce Young's height.
No, they're talking about Hendon Hooker today.
Hendon Hooker,
who's 25 years old with a torn ACL, and they're still like, we're going to talk about him before C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I like both Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I think there's a precipitous drop-off after those two guys, and I prefer Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud, but there's still a lot of questions about his height, and really less about his height than how slight he is as a player overall in his frame. But yeah, if you're the Texans, and like I said, if Bryce Young,
fight for her.
Go fight for him. What are you doing? You got the picks. You got 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year. Just go. Just give the Panthers what they want. The Panthers, that's all they want. They basically want you, because I don't think the Panthers really know who they want. The report is indicating that, and from the get-go, that has been pretty much the reports coming out of Carolina. Oh, management wants one thing, and the coaches want another thing. Well, go get your guy, and then let the Panthers, let them be the team that decides to settle on what quarterback
I'll
they
tell you
get.
this. If you draft Will Anderson, number 2, I expect before pick 12 the Lamar Jackson trade to be announced, and that's the quarterback you were going after. It won't happen, but that was what I would expect if you took a quarterback at 2. Then you don't like a rookie quarterback. Go get a guy who's a former MVP and have your fun.
That would be Nick Casario's version of the Kobe special for the Texans fan base.
Yep.
If he took Will Anderson at number 2 overall
and then trade him.
Everybody excommunicated him and decided, you know what? Nah, man, that guy, he needs to be fired on the spot. And then he traded for Lamar Jackson. We're like, okay, you know what? It's all good.
Okay.
I like the way he worked that. I like the way he worked that. That boy did good.
This guy's a maverick, man. He works outside the lines. You know what I'm saying?
He's a maverick.
It's what this guy does, man. He's working outside the line. I like that.
I love it.
All right, we come back. We'll get into the flex on the other side. Right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn.
It's a great day to be alive, man. And what better way to be alive than getting yourself some Blue Chew? Go to BlueChew.com and believe me, you will be alive. And that's what you want to have when it's time to show your stuff. That's right. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredient as you would find in Viagra and Cialis, but it's in a chewable form, and it's only at a fraction of the cost. The best part of your day needs to go down in the bedroom. What better way to enjoy your day than with some Blue Chew? Go to BlueChew.com. You can have this prescription service, and there's no doctor visits, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line for the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. Go to BlueChew.com, consult with one of their online medical professionals, and once you're approved, you'll get your prescription within days. And again, it's all done online. You don't like swallowing pills? No problem. It's a chewable tablet, and it's made right here in the USA and prepared and shipped direct, and it's always cheaper than the pharmacy. Make sure you go to BlueChew.com and type in the code HARDBALL, and you'll get free for the month. That's right. You'll get to try some samples. All you got to do is pay $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code HARDBALL, and you'll receive the first month free. Everybody use performance enhancers in other sports. Why not be a sporty in your bedroom? BlueChew.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. Oh, man. Intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. Texas baseball, that's you I'm talking about. Texas baseball, Texas softball, too.
Yeah.
Texas softball had a tough weekend.
They went above the Red River, and things didn't go well.
Well, damn, somebody Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Well, Oklahoma softball that's who beat him in the national championship last year.
That's true. Good point. They're a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Great point. But still, rough weekend for them. Rough weekend for the Astros as well. My man Patrick doing a great job for a Smooth Soul Mondays. Who was that, by the way?
Aretha Franklin.
Aretha.
Want to make sure.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too.
Show sounded like her.
Yeah, it did.
The show did.
And you sure sound like Coach Terry.
We're gonna get into Coach Terry in a little bit.
Yeah, we will get into Coach Terry. We got some Coach Terry sound, actually. Coach Terry setting the record straight. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on. But let's get into the flex, FLX, ATX, on all of your social media platforms, FLXATX.com. Go there and check out. Got some great content up there for you. Remember, still got the kinfolk. Still got the Nico Hamilton Wednesday Night Flex show up there for you if you want to go check that out. That's podcasted already. Also, actually, they got a couple of the Flex shows up there for you, the most recent ones. Even the one they had with Bryce Hager. Got to throw that out there, too. That's up there for you as well if you want to go check that out. Also, go to FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. Go check out all the great content they got up there for you. Okay, coming up a little bit later on, we'll get to, not a little bit later on, next segment, we're going to get to some Texas spring football nuggets and updates. There's some scrimmage items we'll get to. A lot of great reports coming out about the Texas spring football scrimmage. I mean, Harge got a chance to hang out with Sark a little bit over the weekend. And my man right? Didn't Tyler Campbell have?
Tyler Campbell had his event this weekend.
And had a lot of lifetime Longhorn show. Legendary lifetime.
I was going to say, there was the only one that was missing was my man Rob B.
Yeah, man. I went the last couple of years. And I couldn't make it this weekend because I had other plans.
Yeah.
Really not my plans, but plans.
Yeah, we understand.
I'm in a democracy these days. I don't get to make my own decisions all the time.
Yeah,
but,
I missed the last couple of years, too, because of the fact we were out of town for my son's events.
Yeah.
I was always missing it because of that. And this year was the first time that he was actually playing in town, so we had an opportunity to go right over after it. That is
Fantastic.
a first-class event.
It really is.
And we'll talk about it a little bit more because you were right. There were a ton of former Longhorns that were in the house.
It's always
Hall
great.
of Famers.
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
Gold jackets. They was walking with their gold jackets on.
No, it is. It really is one of those events where you kind of walk around with your mouth open the whole time in awe. Because you end up like eating and or grabbing a drink, and then you bump into her back to back with a Hall of Famer, and you're just like, oh wow,
okay, it's you, huh?
Yeah.
So this is what you look like up close.
No, it's a really, really great event. We'll get some more details about it. And like I said, I'm sad I missed it. I went the last couple of years, couldn't make it this week. But my man Harge went there, and he got a chance to rub some shoulders.
I did.
And nobody rubs shoulders better than my man Harge. Even if that sounds creepy, that's not the way I meant it. All right, we'll come right back. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain, talk some Texas football right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. Patrick DJing a Smooth Soul Monday for us, doing a damn good job as always. You can be a part of the show. Hit us up on the Specs text line 512-337-3776. You also can use the Twitterverse. My man Harge is at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. We'll get back to the national title game preview. We'll do that coming up in the top of the 5 o'clock. UConn versus San Diego State. You guys excited about this? Yeah,
I actually am.
You excited?
I'm excited about it because I really like the way that they both teams get after it on defense.
Okay.
Both of these teams are a physical basketball
You know America
team.
don't like to see
I
defensive
understand that.
basketball
America
games.
really bad. There's no Texas people in it either.
That is also true. But America does not like defense. I remember that Super Bowl between the Rams and the Patriots. I thought it was a great game.
What was it, 13-11 or something
I
like
love that game. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's one of the worst games, worst Super Bowls ever." I was like, "No, it was a defensive struggle. It was a tactical, it's a tactical kind of chess match between two great defensive minds." But it was not a boring Super Bowl. People were like, "Oh, man, it was boring." People want points. Patrick, you excited about this matchup?
Yeah, it'll be all right.
that. Patrick is not excited
Patrick
about it.
probably
I'll enjoy.
and you're a basketball fan.
Yeah. No, it'll be a fun game. I'm not excited because I don't care about either of the teams, really. I hope for TC's sake that San Diego State does well, but UConn doesn't do anything for me. So it'll be a fun basketball game, but I have no stakes in it. So it's harder for me to care about a game when I have zero stakes in it. I don't think they're necessary. I think UConn may be the best team. They're playing the best. But I think some of the better teams lost during it that I would have enjoyed watching more. Yeah. Just better players. So it'll be a decent game.
Yeah, we'll get into it and break it down. But yeah, I think a lot of people feel like Patrick. Yeah, like I'll check it out if it's trending. I'll check it out. But now I'm gonna watch it. You brought up the point that my man Tyler Campbell, we were just talking about him because he had his event over the weekend, and you were probably there.
I was
the barbecue and boots event when San Diego State advanced via the late game drama.
Yeah,
with the game-winning shot.
It was outstanding because he walked up to me, looked me dead in the face, and he goes, "Harge, my team ain't never won anything, and you best believe I will be there on Monday." And you know how intense he gets, right?
I know how intense he is. I can see it right now.
You can see that conversation.
Yes, I can.
And he had on his red and black representing, and he said, "I don't care, you know my house is burnt orange to the core, but today we are San Diego State Aztecs."
No, I know he's excited. Yeah. He's probably in H-Town right now. Who knows?
You know
he's out there right now. But yeah, man, great event. You talked about it a little bit, but it was barbecue and boots. I'd been there the last couple of years. Couldn't make it this year. It's a Pro Play MS Day, but they have a lot of great, all-time great, I should say, players who have helped out with the charity for the Campbell family who come out and they do support. And they're talking about guys with them yellow jackets, legendary lifetime Longhorns. It's a who's who.
There's definitely a who's who.
Yeah, you rubbing shoulders with Sark out there. Sark showed up, represented.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Came out there, talked a little bit, made his way around, talked to everybody. And you said it, there was a ton of Longhorn greats that were there. Metcalf was there. Eric Metcalf was there. Our man Kwame Cavill, Hodges Mitchell.
Shout out to my man KL.
Exactly, man. Just out there doing their thing and supporting the foundation. You know, it was real interesting to me because it was the first time that I'd ever been to that type of event where you learn a little bit more. I work in healthcare, so it's even more so for me, and I truly enjoyed it and the knowledge that was gained. They had a panel before the barbecue, so it was really cool to see that as well. And even one of the people that spoke is a former patient, and he was dealing with MS, and he's gone on to do amazing things. And obviously Tyler giving his story and his testimony about it as well. It was an outstanding group of people, and I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad he's made an annual event. Yeah. It's really good. It's really cool, and I'm with you. Learn a lot and get to know a lot of really cool people.
No doubt.
When you go to the event, so it'll be happening next year. He's kind of made an annual thing with his charity, but shout out to my man Tyler Campbell and it's the Pro Play MS Day, I believe is what they actually call it. But barbecue and boots, it's got a lot of different affiliations now. Everybody's trying to be a part of it because it's such a great event. All right, let's get to some Texas. Speaking of Texas greats, let's get some Texas football. Hopefully, there are some future legendary lifetime Longhorns practicing right now on the 40 acres. Couple of practice reports, and these are also reports from the scrimmage they had over the weekend, too, because the Longhorns had a scrimmage over the weekend as well. I believe it's their second scrimmage of the spring, and I believe now they're on 5 practices left.
I think so, because the game is the 15th. So,
yeah, it's about 5 practices, somewhere around there, maybe close to half a dozen practices left. So now you're going to start seeing, separation, or at least hearing about some separation now. Guys have got a few practices under their belts. So shout out to Inside Texas. They do a really good job of covering. So I got some notes from them. Also, I got some notes from Horns 24/7. So shout out to my man Chip Brown over there. His practice report kind of piecemealed some things together from those guys. And also shout out to Orange Bloods. Like I said, we got an easy job.
We got it covered, man.
I just got to kind of piecemeal the great work that all those entities put together. So first, Texas standouts from the spring practices. There's a lot of talk about Gavin Holmes right now. The corner.
Transfer from, 2 transfers now that we have back-to-back from corners. Ryan Watts was an integral part of the success last year from Ohio State. And now Gavin Holmes coming in from Wake Forest. These are guys that have already been on the field coming over here.
Yeah, that's a lot of talk about him competing at the field cornerback spot. Guys, I'm big on Terrence Brooks. I thought Terrence Brooks would be able to lock that spot down, and maybe he has. I'm not saying Terrence Brooks hasn't been performing well, but right now there's a lot of buzz about Gavin Holmes. 5'11", 175, 4th year. He's on a redshirt sophomore, but these extra years, COVID years and all this kind of stuff, so guys have extra eligibility. But apparently, based on Eric Nyleen's report from Inside Texas, he's been making plays all spring long. He did get an interception in the red zone on Quinn Ewers during that spring scrimmage, but this is one of the guys that's been apparently performing at a really high level, and now he's making things really interesting at that field corner spot opposite Ryan Watts, because Ryan Watts has locked down that boundary corner spot. It's his, but with Terrence Brooks and with Malik Muhammad. Malik Muhammad's the freshman. Terrence Brooks is the sophomore. But nothing wrong with having depth at the corner, at the in the secondary spot. And I also heard Inside Texas, I believe my man Paul Waddlington talked about that. Some of his sources said that Texas is surprisingly pleased with the second group of DBs they have, meaning they got way more depth than they used to have.
And that's a beautiful thing, right? That's something that we've been trying to see growth at that position. You're going into the transfer portal for the last 2 seasons to find that missing piece, but you've also got some guys, like you said, Terrence Brooks, who is an up-and-coming, exciting young player that maybe he's going to press some people, but right now you're seeing the older players take that and not relinquish it. You talk about it all the time. When you were an older player, you was not giving up reps to the younger guys, and you were making sure you were the first one in line. That's what some of these older guys are doing right now. They're holding those positions, but they're being pressed by those young guys.
Yeah. Speaking of young guys, Ethan Burke, another name coming up. Chip Brown brought up Ethan Burke in his report, who's right now around 6'6", 6'7", 250, coming off the edge, and they're moving him around a little bit. According to my man Chip Brown, he's flashing at the jack-in position. But also there are reports that they're moving him up at different shades around. Sometimes he's a guy that can play defensive end, but also a guy that they can move around at different positions on the defensive line, sometimes moving on the interior as well.
Yeah.
So, and they need somebody opposite Barron Sorrell to take over at that edge position. Now, most of his reps are at the second string defensive end, but he is getting some reps with the first team as well. That's being reported. And Justice Finkley, I believe right now, is the guy that's getting most of the reps at number 1 opposite Barron Sorrell.
Speaking of number 1, where's number 1? Justin Finkley. You know what I'm saying? Justice Finkley going out there.
But he's pushing him.
Yeah.
He's pushing him.
That's good.
importantly.
What do you always talk about? The more competition that you have every single day at practice, the better off your team normally is. If everybody's pushing each other to get better, it increases the growth of the team as well. We expect big things from Texas, and when you have depth at all of these positions, you can't help but try to go to the next level.
Yeah. Also, Alex Dunlap gave some love via Orange Bloods to Ethan Burke, and him getting some first team reps, but majority second team reps, but flashing a lot. So you're getting multiple reports about Ethan Burke flashing as well. Another report, and we heard Sark actually bring up the name Keaton Crawford last week.
Yep.
And he was asked about guys sort of flashing, who stood out in these practices. And Keaton Crawford, in absence of Jalen Catalon, who's dealing with the shoulder injury. Apparently, this guy who switched, and they like guys who have multiplicity in their skill set, versatility. He switched from a cornerback to safety. And apparently now the light bulb is kind of going off for Keaton Crawford this spring. And he's been, not only Sark has brought him up, but you have multiple reports. Anwar Richardson had a report over from Orange Bloods as well that Keaton Crawford was also flashing. And this is a guy that, now he may be forcing coaches to look at a way to put him on the field. Listen, we all agree Jalen Catalon and Jaron Thompson are probably going to be your starting safeties. Hell, but you may have to think about a 3-safety package potentially with this guy. You got to think about a dime package. If you have Jaron Thompson, if you end up having Jalen Catalon, knock on wood, he's healthy.
Yep.
You got Ryan Watts at your boundary corner. We know Jadae Barron at that Nichols, spectacular last season. And let's say Terrence Brooks or Gavin Holmes, whoever, at the field corner spot. And Keaton Crawford's another guy that may end up forcing his way on the field. And if you're short at linebacker, and I don't know how they look at their depth at linebacker, we know Jalen Ford's a guy that's always going to be on the field, never going to leave the field. Maybe you're deeper at DB than you're at linebacker. And if you can get some of those guys to play with a certain level of physicality.
Love it.
And there's a guy like Mo Blackwell who's a hybrid kind of guy too. I mean, I know he's more of a linebacker now, but I consider him more of a hybrid. I wonder if that's a way to solve your depth issues at the linebacker spot, off-ball linebacker spot, opposite Jalen Ford, or maybe because of the young guys, Anthony Hill and maybe he's playing. Maybe you're not devoid of depth there. I don't know.
There's a lot. There's a lot that he can evaluate at this time and try to figure out, okay, can we create this package like you've been talking about where we have these 3 safeties that are coming down and making plays and more of a physical one. But is it you or Jeff Howe that's real big on Mo Blackwell?
I like Mo Blackwell, but Jeff Howe loves Mo Blackwell.
Yeah.
So I would say that he loves Mo Blackwell.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And I would say Mo Blackwell, there's a place for him. But speaking of, let's get to some of these other reports here. Hearing from Eric Nylene, Inside Texas, David Benda.
Yeah.
Has been standing out. I talked to Jeff Howe on our Longhorn Blitz podcast. Jeff Howe of Horns 24/7. He says his source is saying David Benda standing out. I'm like, David Benda?
Hey,
David Benda?
The guy that was a running back, that was a linebacker, that went back to running back, that's now back to linebacker.
Right? What, David Benda all of a sudden?
Got to be a good athlete to be able to do that,
I mean,
though.
this would be a hell of a reinvention by David Benda.
Yeah.
And exactly, he would have to stave off the young bucks like Anthony Hill or Mo Blackwell, guys like that. If he can take that spot, and right now there's a lot of talk that he's been one of the more consistent defensive players all spring long. Like I said, a lot of different sources, multiple different sources saying David Benda.
Yeah.
Showing up. So maybe, the thought, at least the hypothesis that Texas is deeper at DB than they are at linebacker, maybe it's one that is flawed because I'm not sure. Maybe David Benda brings you more depth than I anticipated there.
Right.
Because there's a lot. I mean, I've heard his name now 3 or 4 times. He's been
consistent.
A hot name during the spring. And by the way, there are spring superstars who only have great springs and you never hear from them again.
Right.
It happens.
It does happen.
But it'd be.
We've seen it many of times.
Oh, we've seen it so many times.
We've seen it many a times.
So, there you go. And also, shout out to talking about defense. We might as well stay on that side of the ball. Shout out to my man Chip Brown, did a great job over at Horns 24/7. He's saying that the defensive line now, they got a heavy package.
Ah.
Heavy.
You like that, huh?
Oh yeah,
you like that, huh?
It's heavy, man. It's heavy.
I like it.
He calling it heavy. It's real heavy. We got to find a cooler nickname for it than just a heavy package. But apparently, he said at the during the scrimmage, they unveiled a defensive line with Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, and Vernon Broughton.
It has already been brought in.
It's already been Broughton on the D line.
I like it.
That would be pretty nice.
Well, that's something too. The D line is something that we've been waiting to pop, right? So last year they got way better. They were grading out every single week on the defensive line as one of the best defensive lines. Well, now some of those guys are going to be gone, and you're looking at your depth again. That's going to be the key word for this season and the success for Texas football is how much depth do they have, and they're starting to develop that already.
Big body package.
There it is. I like that. I like that.
You know what? That is because think about
the big sexies coming in. Because big men always think they got it.
The big sexy package. I like that. I like that. Yeah, ask Mark Henry what he thinks about that package right there, man. That's a big package.
It is.
That's a big package right there.
Some blue chew on that thing.
I really want to call it the blue chew package.
That's the blue chew package.
They got to pay extra for that.
There you
Come
go.
on.
That's right.
Pay extra for that.
It's the blue chew
Maybe the guys
package.
can endorse blue chew.
Maybe they can.
They don't
Them
need
youngsters.
It. They don't.
It is never about needing. It's an enhancement.
I love that you never break character.
You gotta keep
never
it the way
break
it is.
character. You always the blue chew man. I love it. Okay, but this I love this heavy package because last year we don't realize, and it's weird to even say it because 2021 was such a down year defensively for Texas. Texas had the deepest interior D line in the country in 2022. Now you'll lose Kendrick Coburn and you'll lose, Amora Ojimo, but that's basically this big package here. That is the rest of your interior D-line they put out there.
I like it.
Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton. They decided, you know what? Our weakest position right now might be what on defense?
The line,
defensive end.
And I was going to say, and the linebacker, because you still only have one right now.
You only got one.
Yeah, but
That's
to
true.
your point.
But it might be defensive end right now. And it's like, you know what? To hell. And by the way, what do I always say about the Big 12? What's the Big 12? The Big 12 is a running league cross-dressing as a passing league. They're trying to fool you like they're trying to throw the ball. They ain't trying to throw the ball. They want to run the rock. And if Texas defensive line was more than up to the task last year, and I wonder if this heavy package could just be situationally, of course, but also matchup-wise, depending on who you're going up against. You're going up against a team that wants to run the rock. Well, you can take that strength away immediately and force them to throw in the football, where Texas has, I believe, a strength potentially. We just talked about the strength in numbers they have, in depth, and just the defensive backs. They should be able to hold up this year. That was the weakness last year of the defense, was the pass defense. You could not run on Texas last year.
No. They were
It was very tough to run on them.
Yeah, and the lateral movement that they had was so good too. I mean, those linemen, they may be big boys, but they got good feet, and they can always move around. And so that was good to see, and that's good that they're putting this package together because when you start looking at it, and your point is spot on about the running game in the Big 12, people get it confused a lot because they just think people are just throwing
10
the
years
ball.
ago. They think it's like 10, 15 years ago, and it's not that anymore.
It's far from that.
Yeah.
Far from that. And for them to be able to shut down the run and take away that, it's one of those things that even in all sports, what's he good at? Take it away from him and make him adjust. Yep. And that is what they're trying to put together. And again, situationally, I think it'll work.
I'm with you too. And this is and I know we're up against it here. We're getting ready for Harsh Knock Life, but I think this is worth discussing too, since we're talking about the package here, the big package. I love the Specs text line. It's lit. It's lit now. I love what gets y'all's creative juices flowing
That's
here.
right.
Someone says Ruben says the supersized package. I like that.
I like that too.
The supersized is not bad. 1 ton package. I like that from Day Drinker. The thick horns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. The heavy package, aka Bevo's beef.
Ooh.
That's not
that
bad.
might get a lot of play.
That's not bad right there.
Yeah.
That one rolls off the tongue. I like
Easy.
that. So thanks for those
Bevo's
suggestions.
Bevo's beef.
Bevo.
Y'all check in.
Come on out. Yeah, I like that. That's legit. Okay. I'll keep them coming. Spec Sex Line. All right, let's get into this report though, because this is also another name that has been constant in all the reports from all the different great entities that cover Texas football. Alfred Collins.
Thank you.
I'm happy that I'm hearing it with so much consistency. whether it's from our good friends over at Inside Texas doing a great job. They've talked about Alfred Collins a ton. And we talked about him on our Longhorn Blitz podcast, me and my man Jeff Howe, about, if this guy can put it all together. I mean, he's got what it takes to be a war daddy. You don't just throw that term around and give it to anybody, because everybody can't be a war daddy. Mm-hmm. But his physical dimensions at 6'5", 315, 320, whatever he is, he carries it extremely well. If the light goes off and if the technique is sound and if he is fundamentally sound, because to be that big, you got to make sure pad levels got to be consistent. Your BGO has got to be consistent. All those things. If it all comes together for him, and right now, Inside Texas claims he's playing that 3 to 3 and 5 technique on the interior defensive line. If it all goes off for him and he becomes a force on the D line, the potential of the entire defense, in my opinion, honestly, if he becomes truly a war daddy, becomes limitless.
Right.
I'm serious. If he becomes that, he has to be double teamed on every play. Right now, he does not have to be double teamed on every play.
Right.
You can just single block him.
But if he does,
whew, because you already got some guys that T'Vondre Sweat's a guy that is a force. He's a guy that is a force. I do think Byron Murphy consistently, there's talk now moving him around D-line. He's probably your most consistent player on the defensive line. If Alfred Collins becomes the best player on that defensive front, gets to war daddy status, which he could be physically as a 5-star coming in, then you're talking about Texas defense really taking a leap. Yeah, that would be something. It has not happened, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying
we're hopeful.
There's been a lot of talk about how he has improved this offseason and this spring, but you need him to take it to the next level. I mean, he's going into his, 4th year?
Yeah, this is the time where he should have popped. Should have popped. We know.
We
know it should have been 2 years ago.
I was going to say,
it should have been 2 years.
About, man?
Yeah.
He ain't supposed to be a late bloomer. He's a 5-star.
He might be a late bloomer. He might have been talented enough to be a 5-star, but he wasn't mature enough to be a 5-star. So he had to learn the ropes. And I'm not saying he didn't, but we didn't get to see that side of him a lot. And that is, if we're going to continue to keep having these conversations about him, I'm expecting him to jump off the screen every single time, every week in, week out.
Yeah. I'm with you. That is not happening.
But it ain't happened.
That is not happening. No, it's just flashes. They are beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing, spectacular flashes.
First off the bus flashes.
Yes, but they are just flashes.
Yeah, that's the pictures from the paparazzi. That's what that is. That's what those flashes are. That's what those are.
Yeah, we need a little bit more than that from Alfred Collins, but there's been a lot of positive buzz about Alfred Collins. We got some more Longhorn nuggets from spring football and scrimmage. We'll get into those at the top of the 6 o'clock. We got Harsh Knock Life coming up next. What you got for the people?
We're going to talk a little bit more baseball. It's that time, Texas baseball. This is the first weekend since that streak. They won 16, but they lost 2 in a row. We're hoping that they don't have a new streak that is starting.
Yeah, we don't need them kind of streaks.
No, because they got a game against Air Force, and Air Force they don't have Paul Skeens like they did last year, but they got some players, and they're going to be scrappy.
All right, Texas Hardball with Hardball coming up next right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. By now, everyone knows that my favorite tequila is Hot Cat Tequila. It is my go-to tequila. As a matter of fact, this weekend, had a great weekend, and yes, got a chance to enjoy some Hot Cat Tequila. And if you had any Hot Cat Tequila, you would understand why I love it so much. The cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila, and the recipe just as simple and just as delicious. It's just cinnamon, agave, nectar, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. Hot Cat Tequila is a tequila lover's dream, and If you're not a fan of tequila, Hot Cat Tequila will make you a fan of tequila. It will turn any event into a party, and every party feels like a celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. Once you try Hot Cat, why would you ever go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you were ordering rounds of when you were just trying to get the party started? So turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. It's the perfect way to pregame for any big game, concerts, festivals, or a night on the town with family and friends. Hot Cat Tequila is best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit cattequila.com. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila.
Welcome back to the Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick Davis does a great job of making sure that you, the fans, are all okay with the smooth soul of Monday. You can follow me on Twitter at HardballHards. You can follow my man Rob Babers at Rob Babers. And you can follow my man Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis. We also love it when you're a part of the show, so hit us up on the Specs text line, 512-337-3776. I wanted to touch on this just a little bit about the baseball season, right? And remember I told you there's no time to panic. This conference is wide open when you sit back and you look at it. Even in these games this weekend and throughout the season for Texas taking losses, it's been pretty much the same part of it. There's been fielding errors, not timely hitting, a lot of runners left on base, and not situationally playing the game properly. So this is one of those things. Texas, even during the win streak, there were some things that were happening during the game, but they were able to overcome them. And that's the beautiful part about it. But I kept saying, it's a long season. It's a long season. We'll start to see some adjustments. We'll start to see different people in different positions in the lineup. They'll be moving up and down. A couple weeks ago, everybody was losing their mind about Dylan Campbell and his numbers. Now Dylan is on fire. He's out there slapping the baseball all over the place. Made a good, strong throw yesterday in the outfield. You got Peyton Powell, young man who's finally getting his chance in the lineup. He's doing well, still leading the team in hitting. You've got Garrett Gilmette, who's done a big job for Texas. He's been crushing the baseball, and he does a great job behind the plate. The biggest thing for Texas now is trying to figure out what the rotation's going to be. We've had some different changes here and there on the mound, but it still comes back to the fact of when you're at the plate and you have an opportunity to drive in a run or advance a runner, you have to do so. You have to be able to do so. That situation yesterday where they come up with the bases loaded and my man strikes out, Thomas, the first baseman, strikes out. You can't strike out in that situation. Credit to the pitcher. He went out there and did his job. But as a hitter, you have to shorten up. You have to put the ball in play, and you have to make the defense make a play. If you strike out, they don't have anything to worry about. If you don't put the ball in play, you don't hit the ball in the air, you don't try to get – and I understand. I've been there many a times. I get it. It's tough. Sometimes you're just in that funk. But there are some things that need to be worked out, and it's 2 games over a series. Texas is still leading the Big 12. I mean, they still have the best record in the Big 12. They have Air Force tomorrow. That game will be at 4 o'clock. You can hear it on 1260, right, Patrick?
Shout out.
You'll listen to the game on 1260. So we'll still be here. We'll be watching the game here in the studio while it's going on. But if you want to listen to the game, you go over there. But there's just so many different things that you should be proud of this team for and not really dwelling on this. They get to go right back out there tomorrow, and then this coming weekend, they have K-State coming into town, another conference game. They're playing good baseball right now, but I believe once you get back home, Texas will be back at home. They'll get their feet wet. Get their feet settled and get right back after it. This team has been battling. They've been playing well, and it was just one of those games, the situation where Oklahoma State is probably the only other team in this conference that I would fear, right? Not fear, really, but just go out there and say they're going to have a good one, and so is TCU. TCU would be the other one, so you have that one late. But other than that, this Texas baseball team is fine. They're going to figure it all out. This is the time that they continue to move in the right direction. I think Coach Rodriguez has done a good job. Obviously, Woody Williams has done a good job with the pitching staff. But, yes, and the texter just asked about Tulo. Yeah, Tulo was a big loss, but you still got to go out there and play. You still have to go out there and make the adjustments, and a lot of that has to do with your plate awareness. And what I mean by that, going up there, knowing the situation, already preparing yourself in the dugout, preparing yourself on the on-deck circle, picking up little things on the pitcher. When does he throw which pitch at what time? These are things that I figured out later in my career. But now you have so many analytics and video and trainer. Yeah. I mean, you got so much that's going on.
The resources are unbelievable.
Yeah, the resources are so good, but sometimes they can be overwhelming.
True.
So if you can simplify your approach at the plate, that's what you want to try to do. It's real simple when runners are in scoring position. And last night they hit into a double play. That's something, too, that they don't do a ton of that. And it was just an unfortunate situation. So don't overthink it. Don't panic, people. We don't have that button. We ain't even got a sounder for it anymore.
No,
so don't even
After
worry about that.
16 straight games.
Yeah, you got some time to relax a little bit.
I agree with you on that. No need to panic.
And I think I told y'all at the very beginning, you can go and look at the entire Big 12 Conference. They fit in really well with the Big 12 Conference. I want to change gears a little bit, so don't panic on that. But speaking of Skeens that we were talking about earlier, this guy has gone on and got the National Player of the Week. He's already got it 1, 2, 3, 5 times this year. And Texas was in on him. And he decided to go to LSU and Jay Johnson. I don't know if it was about the NIL. I don't know what that was about. But he chose to go there. They're the number 1 team in the nation. He said he wanted to win a championship.
That might be part of it.
So they have a lot of talent on that team, and he's gone out there and fit right in. As I told you last week, he may go 1, he may go 2, but they will have 2 of the top 3 players drafted in the country go 1 and 2 this year.
Wow.
So it's a very, very impressive part of what he's done already at LSU. But I wanted to bring this up because we were talking about this right before the season started for the Major League season. We were talking about stolen bases and how it was a lost art, how nobody was really going to attack what Ricky Henderson and some other guys had already gone after as far as stolen bases. Well, in the first 4 games of 2022, 49 games, 29 stolen bases, and 14 caught stealing. In the first 4 games in 2023, the first 4 days in 2023, there's been 50 games played, 70 stolen bases, 14 caught stealing. So it's already increased. The thought process of putting guys in motion now has been so much more in tune to what the game wanted. And the batting averages are up also because of the fact the shift has been taken away. So some of those balls that like a Joey Gallo, for those that remember him when he was with the Rangers, he would hit like 220 but 30 home runs, 40 home runs. And he was like, man, I'm not trying to work on my average. I'm here for home runs. I get paid to hit home runs, which is fair. But when your average continues to be near the Mendoza line,
plummeting.
Yes, it changes the way you're being looked at, and that's why you're bouncing now from team to team. So he now is with Minnesota. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit, and he's starting to get base hits. But the unique thing about the shift now, you cannot shift your infielders, but you can move your outfielders. So they had the left fielder or the right fielder come and play shallow right and move the other guys around.
So whoever can cover more space.
Exactly.
Got a speedy guy that can cover more space.
You got 2 guys in the outfield that they're playing gaps while you're moving the other right fielder up to play like a short right field.
Wow.
So it happened the other day. He hit a ball that was a base hit, but the right fielder had it and almost threw him out at first base, but he bobbled the throw, so he couldn't get him out. So they're adjusting how the outfielders are being able to play in the shift. So they're trying to figure out different ways to kind of make these guys go back to, hey, man, you still got to learn how to hit the baseball and drive it the other way. So it's been really interesting. There's been a lot of fun with these baseball games. I love the fact, too, we were talking about the Rangers. We saw them put up a ton of runs this weekend, although yesterday I told somebody to take the over on the runs, and the final score was 2-1. So
not every game is going to be higher scoring.
Right.
But I think most of them are. I haven't seen the numbers yet about the scoring, but I'm going to research that. I bet they'll come out pretty soon, too.
And for those novice baseball fans, Major League Baseball times are down 25 minutes compared to last year.
It's beautiful.
So it's continuing to drop even more so. Man, the games are being turned around. I went to the Round Rock Express on Friday. Shout out to those great folks over there. We had a blast getting to watch the game, watching the speed of the game. They had over 13,000 people there for opening night for a AAA game.
Wow.
That is absolutely unheard of.
People are ready for baseball season,
and people are glad to be back outside again.
That is also true.
You know what I'm saying? So you're having these opportunities that you're back out in the community. There's so much that happened over the weekend here in Austin, Texas. But Round Rock Express are back at it, and it was really, really fun to be out there.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff. And yeah, Texas baseball in action tomorrow. We'll still have our full show.
Yes.
But we'll give you some details about how you can catch Texas baseball, of course, because you want to hear Craig Way on that call, of course.
Sure.
Versus Air Force. All right, we got off the record coming up. Okay, so we have an update on the Chicago Bulls sweet stripper. Apparently, life is really good for her since that story. We'll get into that. Also, coming up, we got to get into this merger, huge merger in the sports and entertainment world. WWE merging with UFC.
That's huge.
I thought this was an April Fool's story. It ain't. It's the real thing. It's big time. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Off the record on the other side, right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn.
What's up, everybody? I want to talk to you about my friends over at Quick Roofing. Let me ask you a quick question. How often do you think about your roof? I know that we've had some bad rain and some high winds, and I'm sure you were just trying to make sure that you were okay. But you need to have some people come over and check on that roof because maybe a shingle was blown out of the way or something like that. Make sure you check it out and do yourself a favor and go over and check out my friends over at Quick Roofing. Go to quickroofing.com today. Jeff Quick started Quick Roofing in 1984, and now 39 years later, he's done over 200,000 projects. You get a free, no-obligation inspection. You get 7-year workmanship warranty. Quick Roofing is fully insured and have all state and local licenses. Quick Roofing doesn't even require any money up front until 100% completion and, of course, 100% satisfaction. Quick Roofing also makes sure that a project manager is on every job site, ensuring that you, the customer, get everything that you deserve. So what are you waiting for? Reach out and get that free inspection. Go to quickroofing.com today. That is quickroofing.com.
All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. There's some big news in the sports and entertainment world that we have to address. So, gentlemen, apparently WWE and UFC apparently are going to be merging. WWE is saying goodbye to existing as a family-run business as it is going to join with the company that runs the UFC to create a $21.4 billion sports entertainment company. The deal announced Monday between Endeavor and WWE on the heels of the biggest event of the year, basically the WWE Super Bowl, which is WrestleMania. And Vince McMahon, I think initially he purchased it for like $1 million. From his dad and like some other investors. But now partnering with UFC, it's going to be a part of a entity that is now worth upwards of $21 billion, gentlemen. Would it be?
Would it be? You said it, Rod. I mean,
wow.
The amount Vince McMahon bought it for was in 1982.
Yeah, it's like $1 million.
Yeah,
it was like $1 million.
It was $1 million.
Like
now
that.
it's 9.3
It was a lot of money
billion.
back then. A lot of money back then.
Yeah.
A lot of money now, by the way.
For sure.
But
and like you said, he bought it from his dad.
Now it's
so
worth
that
like,
was probably his allowance.
Yeah. Well, no, Vince. I mean, Vince had a vision. He had a vision.
No, and there's a whole story about it.
It
Basically,
is, yeah.
he was before he had bought it. He was running like boxing events and other stuff, and his dad did a bunch of stuff at MSG. His dad wanted him to take when he bought it. He was like, "You can take it, but don't try and take over other territories because that was not what you were supposed to do."
Yeah,
and he was like,
part of the
"I
rules.
won't," and then immediately did.
Exactly.
But that first WrestleMania was basically if that didn't work,
he was going to be broke.
he wouldn't make the money back. His dad would take back the company because the whole deal was he had umbrella payments over a certain amount of time, and if he didn't make one payment, the whole deal was off, and he lost all that money.
Yeah. And I think his dad died basically like 2 years later, and that's when he decided I'm going rogue. And every promise that I made about this thing, hell, I'm doing my own thing. And thank God he did, because now the company's worth $9 billion, actually more than $9 billion.
Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff. But can we talk about his mustache?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Somebody posted. El Guapo posted, he said he looks like somebody that rolls his R's when he tries to get a margarita. You know what I'm saying? That mustache, them eyebrows. My man Vince McMahon.
I thought he was growing it
there.
for some WrestleMania.
I thought it was too.
Like plot or something.
No, this is how out of touch this man is. It's the most recent film he's ever watched was Casablanca.
That's what I was saying. It's like Clark Gable.
No, it's mustachioed. It is an old
mustachio.
Yeah, he's mustachioed. It's a mustachioed McMahon.
I mustache you a question.
Yeah, you got to have like certain like devices and apparatus to make sure that you comb that thing correctly.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what he was thinking there, but you know what? When you're about to become that obscenely rich, that's when you
try stuff out.
Exactly. you try random stuff out. Look at the owner of the Raiders and all the haircuts he got. Is he bald now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, but his whole thing was that it was too cheap to get a haircut.
Once again, eccentric. When you're a billionaire, that's pretty eccentric. That's pretty eccentric.
We got Ty paying $95 to go get his haircut today.
Rob B can be that cheap. I get like 4 or 5 haircuts a year. Yeah, because I'm cheap. But he doesn't need to be cheap.
No, but he's also not a liquid billionaire.
Oh, okay.
He's not. He owns. If he sells the Raiders, he is a liquid billionaire.
That's true.
Until he does, he has a lot of responsibility.
Well, that's why Vince McMahon, he's liquid billionaire now, so he's probably he's like, I'm growing a mustache. I'm growing a crazy billionaire mustache.
There it is.
All right,
I want to look. You remember you kept talking about the billing?
Yeah, exactly.
How you guys doing?
That's exactly how he looks like. He laughs like that. So when you get that kind of money, liquid billions of money, you know what? You should grow a crazy mustache. You should do something.
You should be allowed to.
Something eccentric. You can't just be like everybody else. So you got to do something weird and eccentric. Like Elon Musk. Like, he's the richest man in the world. So everything he does is eccentric and strange and weird.
That's
like,
very true.
I mean, this is the richest man in the world.
That's very true.
That's what I would do if I was that rich.
Love
so
it.
there you go. Vince McMahon. And now UFC and WWE combining forces.
That's going to be different because they hated each other for a long time.
I don't know if they hated each other, but they were basically UFC was trying to avoid being in any way in the public stratosphere being connected to wrestling in the WWE sense of wrestling, the entertainment sense of wrestling.
True that.
They didn't want that.
Yeah,
but
they didn't want
now
people thinking
I guess they've said to hell with it. It's almost like how all the sports leagues fought being associated with gambling for so long, and then they figured, man, gambling is just as big as we are, if not bigger. Why not just associate with it? and then we could be even bigger than we'd be too big to fail.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's why I think UFC and WWE is like, no, dude, we can end up being too big to fail. We can be that kind of company.
I don't know if they're going to be too big to fail.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think it's a good deal.
You don't think it's a good deal?
Not for the wrestling. No, I think the wrestling will get exponentially worse.
Oh, I don't do
Because when you take non-wrestling
so
people and put them in the world of wrestling, it normally ends up with things getting much worse.
Could be, but that's what wrestling's been doing for a long time now, though.
No,
I
get it, but I'm just saying, like, WWE
now you got
still has
Jake Paul's wrestling.
Oh no, I'm saying people running it.
Oh, running.
I'm saying when non-wrestling people run wrestling, they make decisions because they go, "That's stupid," and you go, "Yeah, of course it's stupid. We all love the Undertaker, and he was fake dead for 30 years.
Okay,
we get it." We don't care. We like wrestling. So it always worries me when non-wrestling people come in because they go, "We're real fighters." And you go, "Yeah, I get that, but just don't mess with it."
That is fair. I'll admit that could be the case. But, I mean, they see potential in it.
Oh, no, they're going to. And by the way, I bet Peacock will be done soon, and they will make it, and pay-per-views will be back because UFC is very big with pay-per-view. So I'm imagining they're going to go back to a pay-per-view model again, too.
I wonder how UFC – I wonder if – wrestling people are excited, or UFC people are excited, or they're pessimistic and a little, suspicious of this whole thing.
Very.
I wonder if they're excited about it, or if they think, like you said, it may end up deteriorating the actual product itself.
Yeah, and we'll see too. I can guarantee the wrestler's probably not thrilled to join with a company that grossly underpays its professionals on the UFC side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of why the business model works so well for UFC.
So we will see how many people get. I mean, WWE's cut costs a lot recently, so we will see what they do again now.
Yeah, man, that's but it's a huge story. I was a little shocked that it happened too. But yeah, basically Vince McMahon's he's building his exit strategy for a while now, and I guess this is the ultimate exit strategy for him.
I think he just started back with the company though.
Yeah, but
he wants to sell. He still wants to run it, though.
Yeah, but from what I hear, he's not going to be able to run it. Not the way he wants to run it. Not with these people in charge. No, exactly, because he's a dictator.
Yeah,
he's been great. By the way.
Which is why he grew that mustache.
That's what a dictator would do.
That's what a dictator would do.
Yeah, he's not going. But no, UFC. Actually, UFC is also ran almost like a dictatorship as well. Mm-hmm. You can't have two dictators. It don't work.
Nope.
Yeah.
One's gonna kill the other off. We know how this is gonna play out, and trust me, Vince McMahon is probably on his way out in some way, form, or fashion. All right, so there you go. Little news there. Oh, by the way, the stripper from the Chicago Bulls suite, she says business is booming. She says she's been booked. She said she is turning down appointments and bookings. She said business is great, and it's one of the best business decisions she ever made, was dancing in that suite.
So,
boom, and going viral and going on the news.
I was finna say, now everybody's trying to find her.
Yeah, exactly. Her name is Pretty Rebel.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect.
That's her. Yeah, I mean, I'm Pretty Rebel, I guess. Yeah, but she's
be a rebel, Pretty.
Yeah, she's great. I saw her video. She looks like she really knows what she's doing.
She's talented.
So she's been heavily booked in the last few weeks since that story broke. So there you go. Congratulations to her. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into the national title game preview. We'll break down UConn versus San Diego State. Rodney Terry setting the record straight. He was in H-Town and he was on a show, and he said some things that some people were critical of. Actually, thought Rodney Terry was being a little too braggadocious.
They probably didn't listen to the audio.
Yeah, we'll play the audio.
Yeah, that's
so we will
what I'm
play
saying.
it. You might have read the transcript. We'll play it for you. Also, Tyrese Hunter news. We'll get into that, and the story that has captivated the country and made women's basketball the top topic of conversation among many sports shows around the country. Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese trash talk. We'll get into that as well. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn.
You know what else is brilliant? When you have to perform and you need a little bit of extra when it's time to get down. So make sure you go visit my friends over at BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a tablet that is a performance enhancement for the bedroom that gives you a little bit of confidence when it's time, as I said, to perform. Here's an easy way to go about this. You go online, you go to bluechew.com, and what you do is you can consult with one of their medical providers, and once you're approved, you will receive a prescription within days. The best part about it, it's all done online. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredient as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form. You don't like swallowing pills? No problem. You don't want to go to the pharmacy and have your name yelled out, Mike, we got your Cialis ready for you. No. You don't have to worry about this. This is delivered straight to your door. And it's made right here in the US of A and shipped discreet, where you don't even have to worry about it. So if you want that extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com, type in the promo code HARDBALL at checkout, and just pay $5 for shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code HARDBALL, all one word, and you'll receive the first month free. You want to be a star? I can teach you how to be a star. Go to BlueChew.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. The jams my man Patrick pays for you. Intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. That definitely goes for Texas baseball, Texas softball as well. Both of them dropping series over the weekend to schools in the state of Oklahoma. Sooners and the Cowboys. Also, the Astros. Go Astros! Tough weekend as well. They ended up losing their first series of the season to the White Sox. So we can get to some baseball conversation. But the Rangers, shout out to the Rangers as well, because Rangers started the season 3-0. One of 3 teams to start the season undefeated. You can be a part of the show. Specs Tech Sounds the best way to do it. 512-337-3776. We'll talk Cowboys and Rod's rant of the day because there's a story out there about Mike McCarthy who had a heart-to-heart, if you will, with Dak Prescott about his interceptions. So we'll talk about we'll theorize, hypothesize what they could have discussed in the heart-to-heart about Dak's interceptions, and he did lead the NFL in interceptions. Only playing 12 games. We had 15 of them suckers, so we'll get into that coming up in Rod's Round of the Day. We'll talk national title game here, preview UConn versus San Diego State. Also, Rodney Terry setting the record straight. We'll get into that. Tyrese Hunter, there's news there on the Texas basketball front, and the basketball conversation that has captivated the nation today. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese in the "You Can't See Me" trash talk controversy that everybody's kind of gotten into, which I think is great for women's basketball. I think it's actually one of the best stories for women's basketball in a really, really long time. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on in this segment. Let's get into the national title game preview first, and then we'll hit Texas basketball on the other side of this. All right, gentlemen, tonight you will have the matchup between UConn and San Diego State. There is no question. This is one of those times where it's all about the hot teams. Oh, man, I just got distracted by Vince McMahon's. It's up there on the screen right now. They just put it up there. They should give you a warning before they put Vince McMahon's face up there with that mustache. I apologize.
Oh, my goodness.
I got distracted. I really did. I was looking there, and I looked over your head, and there was the mustachioed McMahon to distract me.
Somebody called him Vince Castro.
It feels like that. It is aggressive.
It's like he was trying to go into the witness protection program, but just really went halfway on the way.
There you go. That's true. Okay, yeah, Astros
That's
split
fun.
the series. I apologize.
Yeah.
I said they lost the series. They split the series. They didn't win it. That's my more. I probably should have said. Okay, getting to the preview of San Diego State and UConn. UConn has basically been the most dominant team down the stretch of the tournament. And I don't think, if you go look at the numbers, I think a lot of people are surprised that the Vegas wise guys don't have UConn as a bigger favorite over San Diego State.
Right.
But here's a number to show how dominant UConn's been. So they're beating their opponents by over 20 points per game. They beat each of its opponents, its last 5 opponents, by 13 points or more. They're going to be the 16th team to enter the national championship game after winning all of its prior NCAA tournament games by 20-plus points per game or more on average. Of those previous 15 teams, by the way, 12 went on to win it all. So there you go. I think it's 99 Duke, 64 Duke, 55 LaSalle, the 3 teams that came up short in that last stat I gave you. But either way, it just shows you how dominant UConn has been. I mean, no team has really gotten close to UConn. And yet San Diego State, they're on the other end of that. They've had 2 late game winning shots.
Yes.
To reach the NCAA title game. That's the first time that has happened in the history of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that is something when you think about it. I mean, you start looking at this team and see how they get here, the journey of it all. You were just talking about how UConn has been dominant in their performances. In San Diego State, had a buzzer beater. They've had to come down to some really clutch moments late in the game. And the best part about it, Rod, was on that game on Saturday, they had an opportunity to call a timeout. And during the previous timeout, they said, no, we're just going to play it out. They were going to play it out. And Butler came like a centimeter away from dribbling himself out of bounds. And that would have ended the season. And then they didn't have people on the court that are normal scorers, but they find a way to get it done. And do you look at teams sometimes and you say, oh, this is a team of destiny? This is a team that has done things that you sit and you look at them, it's like, how did they get here? And you find out a little bit more about their history, how they play, and you're like, they're destined for this. Their head coach was part of the Fab Five coaching staff with Michigan when they won the national championship, Chris Webber's timeout, all that stuff that was going on. He was a part of that. And then he traveled to San Diego State with Jeff Fisher when he took that job, and then he becomes the head coach. It's unbelievable.
It is a great story.
And you start thinking, I'm like, this dude has been around the game for a long time. And here he is with an opportunity that's like, we're here to win. Remember one of their post-game press conferences, he said, we weren't all that excited about winning, I think there was the conference tournament or something like that. He's like, no, our goal is to win the national championship. So that's why we're just handling our business.
Veteran squad?
Yeah. Old souls over there on that basketball team.
Over there. And, yeah, I mean, nobody I'll give you a San Diego State stat really quickly. Basically,
we can call it the Tyler Campbell stat now.
You can give it to him, too. Because, he's proud. He's down there in H-Town, I'm sure of it. San Diego State is the 5th team in the seeding era to get to the national championship game after entering the NCAA tournament with odds of 80-1 or higher.
Yeah.
80-1.
Man, I wish I would have took a flyer on those guys.
If they beat UConn and win it all, they would fall right behind, actually, ironically, 2014 UConn as the longest odds entering the tournament to end up winning the championship. 2011 Butler, obviously, they were the longest pre-tournament odds to make it to the national title game. I think they were 200-1. Something like that. They lost to UConn. 2022 North Carolina, they were 125-1 and lost to Kansas. 2014 UConn, 100-1 odds prior to the tournament and beat Kentucky to win it all. And then San Diego State's right behind them. So it just is, you don't see this a lot. It ain't. I don't know if you can call it a Cinderella because they were a good team, obviously being a 5th seed, but. Still, it feels Cinderella.
It does. It does feel like it. But was she a gold digging skank or something like that? Ain't that what you call her?
And she gotta be double digits to be a true Cinderella. So I can't throw them in that boat. But I'll say that UConn also long odds. UConn, according to Action Network, Connecticut opened the entire season, not the tournament, the season with 80-1 odds to win it all.
Wow.
While San Diego State was 66-1. So Connecticut, dating back to 08-09, Connecticut has the longest preseason odds to make it to a title game, just ahead of Tech at 70-1 in 2019.
Interesting.
So a lot of people didn't have UConn in this mix either. So you got two really long shots to make it to the national title game who have made it here, which makes this matchup even more unfathomable.
It's wild.
It is wild.
That is wild.
So and also for San Diego State, when's the last time we had a team outside the Big 6 conferences, major 6 conferences, to win a national title? Doesn't happen a lot.
No, because you got to be a blue blood to be in this type of party, and they found a way to bully their way into it, and they're a very physical basketball team, and for them to have this opportunity, which a lot of people probably still aren't giving them a lot of love. That's why it is a 7.5-point line. That is why that's why everybody's talking about the fact that the margin of victory for UConn is 20.6 points per game.
Crazy.
They've had a good run, and Patrick mentioned it during the break. It's like they beat a team in Gonzaga that's a solid basketball team that has history by 20 points also. I mean, it's not like they were playing a bunch of terrible teams to get there, but it is a unique run that they're on right now.
Yeah, since 2000, you just don't see teams outside the top 6 major conferences, Power 6, whatever, end up winning national titles, let alone playing for them. Happens in basketball and baseball, of course, more than most the major sports. But, San Diego State's got a chance to be the first in basketball since UNLV,
right?
I imagine.
Yeah, that might be true.
It's got to be. right?
Yeah, the fact that we
90?
can't even, that would be it.
That would be a great storyline if it does happen, but it's been a long time since that's happened. All right, so
why is it so late again? Why are we getting the game so late?
What time does it start?
8:25.
That's pretty late.
I mean, think about it. People on the East Coast.
And I don't know.
So Connecticut's mad, San Diego's loving it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But they probably want to appeal to the West Coast because they got a West Coast team in there. Maybe that's.
I mean, it's
Is
still
that it? Because they got a West Coast team.
But wouldn't it have been that time anyway, though? I mean,
Yeah, it would have been that time anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's more along the lines of, I mean, possibly it could be that the game is also being played in Houston where they go at Central, so we don't want to start it too late. We don't want to start it too early because we need it to be packed like when it starts. And if you start it at 7:20, people can be rolling in late.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I think it's – I get why they do them later because your ratings don't really go down that much because your whole thing is, look, if we put it at 8:20, everyone will be there at the start. It's basically a 2-hour game. So if it's a good game, then our ratings will be good at the end. If it's a bad game, our ratings weren't going to be good no matter what.
Yeah, I think and also the effect of social media on ratings now. They know that they'll get people who will just tune in after if it's indeed a good game. You'll get your basketball fans, they're going to tune in no matter what for the start of the game. They're just going to be there.
Yeah.
But they know throughout the game, if you time it right and you can trend at the right time on social media, people will tune in. People go, look at it, like, oh, man, let me tune into this game real quick. The game's pretty good.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are now people, network executives, they understand, like, no, we'll get, there's a tune-in factor here. That's why they look at the ratings when they peak.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's our peak time. We peaked here. We peaked there. We were talking about that with the women's national title game, which we'll get to here in just a second because that was one that was full of some great, salacious headlines. Before we do that, though, Rodney Terry caused a bit of some headlines. Rodney Terry was actually on with they do a show on the Field of 68 media network. It's basically basketball or college basketball related content. And he was in Houston with this show. And he was talking about Texas and being asked about recruiting and talking about, his obviously the culture that he's building and his experience in recruiting now being the head coach, but also being, a head coach and assistant here at Texas, being a head coach before coming to Texas as well, that he's got a lot of experience in recruiting. And this is a clip which I think has gone somewhat viral, and some people even criticize Rodney Terry, which I don't really find very critical about what he said. But either way, he's talking about recruiting here, and here's Rodney Terry making a statement and trying to set the record straight about where he thinks Texas can go in recruiting with him at the helm.
Chris is a great coach, and again, someone I respected for over 20 years in the business, But again, Chris didn't put this roster together by himself. We put this roster
Tell him again, RT. Tell him again.
I recruited 3 starters.
Tell him again now.
I'm not one to pat myself on the back, but, heck, we got in the trenches.
There you go. You ain't got to do that on the back. Don't disrespect you either now. Don't damn disrespect you either now. They ain't do that by
We
himself.
put this roster together, man. I recruited 3 starters on this roster here, so let's don't get it twisted. But no,
All right, now.
and you know what? It's a team effort. It's always a team effort, in terms of putting a roster together. I've been at Texas basketball, when we've had the highest of highs. I mean, you could go back to the best 5 seasons in Texas basketball, and I've been a part of them the entire time. So I know the landscape. I know what it takes to be successful at this university. And, we're going to roll our sleeves up and get after it. We're going to try to get the best guys, not only in the state of Texas, but also around the country and, internationally to come in and represent the university the right way, both on and off the court. But it'll be a group, it'll be a team effort in terms of putting a really good roster together. But, we're here for no other reason to try to win a national championship.
Do you like the timing of the portal? Like the thing that makes me so frustrated with the way that this works is like.
All right. Thank you very much for that. That's enough. But he was getting into some other stuff. But the gist of it is you just heard it there. He's confident.
Well, the thing he said was
the
it wasn't
impact he
by
can have in
himself.
Yes.
And that's fair. I mean, I was looking at some of the comments as well, and people were like, oh, man, this guy right here, he's so arrogant. And it's like, what are you talking about? People have been going out of their way to say, well, he did it with Chris Beard's people. He did it with Chris Beard's players. Chris Beard wasn't the only one who recruited those players. And everybody was talking about, oh, man, I don't know if he can recruit. I'm like, what are you obviously have not been paying attention to all of this throughout the time. Rodney Terry built a program, 2 of them, from the ground up and had winning records. People are always looking for a negative in every situation. And now we're always critical of every word that comes out of somebody's mouth. And it's like, well, maybe he's tired of listening to the nonsense of, well, I don't know if he can do it here. I don't know if this, maybe he was just setting it straight, and he didn't even sound upset about it. He was basically matter of fact.
He was.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm all in on RT, baby. As y'all know.
And we know that Texas signee Ron Holland was still really excited when Coach Terry was given the head coaching job, or earned the head coaching job. And also A.J. Johnson still a part of that signing class for Texas. But I read that my man Jerry Hamilton over at Inside Texas, shout out to Jerry Hamilton, who discovered one Rod Babers, by the way. So I love my man Jerry Hamilton.
Way to go, Jerry.
He's reporting that also there's a great relationship between Rodney Terry right now and his staff, of course, and the 2024 prospect, from Dallas Lake Highlands, who is a fantastic prospect that he also is. Right now, really, I think Trey Johnson's his name. Sorry if I didn't miss that. Trey Johnson's name. That they actually have a really close relationship, too. And he said, this is a quote from the article from Jerry Hamilton, from the young man Trey Johnson, from the 2024 recruit. He said, quote, he told me, he's talking about Coach Terry, he told me he still wanted me to come. It means a lot that I was his first stop before he went anywhere else after he got the job. It's an amazing relationship. We talk about every other day.
Right.
And, I mean, this is a guy that's considered the nation's top-ranked recruit in 2024, and him and Rodney Terry have a really good relationship.
Yeah, he's all in. So that's the whole thing about it. I mean, when you treat people like they're valuable to you, and what I mean by that is as individuals, not just as basketball players, people are always investing in you. What do we always talk about? If you have a coach that shows you that he cares about you as a person, you'll do anything for that person. And that's people in general. So I don't have any worries about what Rodney's going to be able to do at this university as far as what happens next for him.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's got, and the biggest thing for me now is I want to see what the coaching staff is going to look like as well. Is everybody staying with them and being able to continue that bond? It looks like they had a lot of fun this year, but it's a lot of fun when you're winning.
Yeah, that's going to be that's also going to be a huge story for Texas. Another big story will be Tyrese Hunter. He declared for the 2023 NBA draft. He did announce this last week. He's also going to retain and kind of maintain his college eligibility by not hiring an agent.
Right.
So I do believe he could end up coming back if he doesn't like what he's hearing about his prospects and what his evaluation is. So smart move, honestly, just to see where you stand.
Yeah. I mean, Dylan DeSouza did that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
He did that last year and he came back. So everybody, if you have the opportunity to test the water, test the water.
Well, and they can tell you what they want you to work on and things they're looking at. And so, it basically gives your offseason a whole new direction because you can go in there and then go, hey, man, I saw you did that really well, but what we liked is we saw you did this and this. We want to see you do more of that. And you go, oh, I need to work on that. Hey, man, we noticed you go right a lot. How well do you go left? Or, hey, man, we noticed that when you take this shot, you don't set your feet the right way that we like you to set. Just little stuff like that an NBA scout will go, this is a note I have, and if you can fix that. So if you get the opportunity, the NBA calls you and says, hey, we'd like you to take part in that.
Yeah.
We'd like you to take part in the draft process.
Yeah.
I think you should go do it. It's not going to hurt you anything. And I think Tyrese Hunter has a bright future ahead of him. As of everything I've heard from scouts and everything right now, I don't think he's going to be a top pick in the draft. So I wouldn't worry about him going away right now. But I think it'll help him and it'll improve his game for next season.
A smart move, though. Just don't hire an agent. And you just get notes, recommendations about how to improve your game from, obviously, the NBA scouts and execs. So I love that move by him. Smart move by Tyrese Hunter. Gentlemen, while we got some time here, let's talk about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. For those who did not hear about this story and are not well versed in it. So the LSU women end up beating Iowa 102-85 in the women's national title game. But Caitlin Clark, who had become a superstar in this tournament, 240 plus point performances. She also ended up breaking the tournament record for most threes and most points scored. She really was. I mean, she was a boss out there, all right, dealing. And it was fun to watch. I mean, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, I mean, everybody was pretty much riveted by her performance during the tournament. She did have a celebratory gesture, which was what we now know from Tony Yayo to John Cena, you can't see me gesture that she would do to either taunt or showboat in front of her opponents when she made a big play. She was doing it all tournament long, and everybody loved it, by the way.
For sure.
Nobody said anything.
Not a word.
Very few people, if any, said anything critical about her time because she was just sensational. She was amazing. So fast forward to the national title game against LSU. They have a spectacular amazing, extraordinary player who won tournament player, most outstanding player of the tournament, I should say, and Angel Reese. And she even said in the postgame, she made it was kind of basically her mission to throw it back in Caitlin Clark's face, that Caitlin Clark would taunt her opponents and would showboat in front of her opponents with the you can't see me thing. So LSU's winning. And long story short, she goes in front of Caitlin Clark, does the you can't see me celebratory gesture, and then follows her. Oh, that's important. She does follow her. She doesn't just do it once. She does it once, and Caitlin Clark kind of ignores her, keeps moving. She's like, oh, you ain't see me? And she comes back like, let me
make sure you see me this time.
So, yes, they follow her, points at the ring finger, basically insinuating, hey, we're about to get a ring because we got the championship and you don't have one. A lot of people, including Keith Olbermann, very upset by this, captioned the video of that happening with, quote, what an effing idiot. He was talking about Angel Reese. Oh, harsh. And then Danny Cannell, another one, said classless. So a lot of people were upset about this, taking sides. And I think it's great, by the way. I think as long as people have been respectful in this debate and discussion and this discourse, I think it's one of the best things that happened to women's basketball in a really long time. It's got everything that America loves to debate and yell at each other about. It's got race. It's got sexism thrown in there. It's got ageism because different generations, some feel different about trash talk than others. And you got dynamic, great personalities. Villains create conflict. Conflict creates storylines. This matchup had storylines all throughout. When you talk about Kim Mulkey, you're talking about how different the teams are and their personalities, how different the stars are. It had storylines galore, and that's what America likes. America is captivated by storylines, and that's why people watched.
And you're right.
People watched.
9.9 million viewers on a Sunday afternoon, midday, where there was the most viewed NCAA women's basketball game on record, up 103% from last year.
Good job, ladies.
And it peaked at 12.6 million viewers.
This was basically, hey, you know, we were just talking about Vince McMahon?
Yes.
Vince McMahon, what did Vince McMahon teach us all? All right, about wrestling and how to sell it.
You guys all entertainment,
right?
Baby.
How to sell it, how to promote something. He was one of the greatest promoters in the history of sports entertainment in this country. These ladies, brilliant promoters. Kim Mulkey is a great promoter. I appreciate they promote the hell out of this sport and they promote the hell out of this event, and America watched. Take a lesson golf, take a lesson baseball, take a lesson every other sport, probably except for football and basketball.
You don't have to worry about
and the
football.
NBA. You ain't gonna worry about football. They got a ton of them. Storylines, baby. Storylines. That's what we want.
Most viewed college event ever on ESPN Plus.
Why? Because you need something that's going to transcend the sports page to the front page. They talking about this on The View. Hell, I wouldn't doubt if Donald Trump ends up saying something about it.
Oh, you know he's going to.
I know he's got a lot going on. But I'm just saying.
But you know he's going to say something.
I was like, it's just one of those stories that is going to captivate the country. Everybody's got to have an opinion on it. Ladies, that's what it's about. More of this. Don't listen to all the haters and the naysayers. More of this. More of it.
I loved it.
Oh, it was great.
And the city of Dallas put on for them, right? They put it on for them right away.
They did.
My family was at the game last night,
That's
and they
crazy.
were so excited
wild.
about everything. It was like from start to finish, they embraced it all. DJ got a picture with former coach Jody Conrad, the legend. So he was real excited about that. So it was a great, great time, and there was a ton of people there.
And don't LSU have a woman who's also a rapper on the roster?
Oh yeah.
She's like they got storylines galore.
Oh,
She's like
yeah.
a rapper / great player.
I think she's down with Lil Wayne's group.
I forget her name.
LSU did they put up billboards on the way to Dallas near Waco with Kim Mulkey on them.
Oh, did
the
they?
Tom Baylor.
Oh, I didn't know they
did that one too. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
saying. Yeah, it's
Come on, man.
beautiful.
I love how petty women's basketball is becoming. It is becoming very entertainingly petty, and I love it. As a matter of fact, let's give from Caitlin Clark real quick. This is when she was asked about how she feels about the taunting and the showboating. Here it is from the star herself.
Our final question to the last one question.
Hi, Caitlin, Jack Leader with KCRG. I remember a couple months back you said, people need to play with that fire. I play with that fire. And now here we are at the national championship game. Social media is buzzing over the quote-unquote 2 best trash talkers in the country, you and Angel Reese. I presume you view that actually as a positive thing, not a negative thing, playing with passion. Do you view it as a good thing for this game?
Absolutely. I view, matchups that people get really excited about as a really good thing for this game. I think that's what excites people and gets them to the TV, but when they turn the TV on, they understand it's not an individual game. It wasn't Caitlin versus Leah. We weren't even matched up against each other at all. It's not going to be Caitlin versus Angel. That's not what's going to win a national championship, but that's what gets them excited about watching the game. So I think more than anything, people are starting to understand women can play with, excitement and a passion and a fire about themselves, and, that's what's fun.
Hey, like I said, there's a difference between taunting and stunting. Yep. Ric Flair, woo, the nature boy, he don't taunt. He stunts.
Yeah.
Stunting is a habit.
You gotta have it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So stunt
like your daddy.
Exactly. Stunt on your foes.
That's right.
Stunt on your foes. I like that. Yeah, so I love what the ladies did. I thought it was great. Obviously, Harsh just gave the ratings. So whatever they're doing is working.
Yeah, and her name is the rapper on LSU's team. She won the national championship. Her name is Flauja Johnson.
There you go.
There she goes.
They got a rapper.
She got bars.
They got a rapper, too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's like the 4th or 5th best storyline of the whole damn matchup.
Yeah.
Patrick just mentioned another one. They put billboards up in Waco. I was like, I think it's great. As I was like, Kim Mulkey, people don't like her. I think she's really good for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody like that.
And by the way, her son, Kim Mulkey, went to LSU. She's from Louisiana Tech, and her son was a shortstop for the LSU baseball team before as well.
Yeah.
So she got them ties.
Mm-hmm. And by the way,
2 years she got it done.
This is what's really great about this, by the way. Because Caitlin Clark, she's not even draft eligible.
No, she is.
Next year.
She can forego. She's a junior. So she would be able to go.
I've read she's not draft eligible, it says.
She
until
says she's
2024.
coming back anyway.
I read she's not draft eligible until 2024, though. And Angel Reese is just a sophomore.
Yeah. Angel Reese she's been around, though. She was at Maryland for a minute.
Yeah.
So she's made her way around. And I'm glad. I'm happy to see it.
Okay. Either way, good storyline there. Great stuff. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into Rod's rant of the day. I have a Dak Prescott stat that will show you that Dak Prescott, maybe he is a little underrated when it comes to the check down and the dump off. We'll talk about that when we come back right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Apple Leasing because, hey, it is a crazy car market going on right now. And you need somebody that can walk you through every step of the process, but also someone who has your best interest in mind, and that's Apple Leasing. They've been around for almost 40 years here in Austin because they do business the right way. They put their customers first. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car that you want. And it's pretty simple. All it takes is one phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing's simple interest, easy lease allows you to have a lot more flexibility, which will give you a lot more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best, because inflation is out of control. It's through the roof. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. So leasing actually makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. So call Apple Leasing today at 512-346-9977 and let them see how much money they can save you. They get all the same discounts and all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing. They prefer to pass those savings right on to you, the customer. So give them a call, 512-346-9977. Just have a conversation, and trust me, you can thank me later. AppleLeasing.com. Go to AppleLeasing.com. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Yes. All right, let's get to this Dallas Cowboys discussion here. We don't have a ton of time. So there's been a lot of talk about Dak Prescott and his performance last season, led the NFL in interceptions. As a matter of fact, that was a story that Mike McCarthy had a heart-to-heart with Dak recently this offseason about those interceptions. And so I want to do some deep diving about, the interceptions from Dak and really what kind of led to that outlier of a season, because most of the time Dak has been one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to protecting the football, and his turnover rate and his interception rate's actually been pretty low, but that wasn't the case last season. What I also found last season was interesting. Dak had the highest tight window throw rate in the NFL in 2022. So that means he threw more throws in the tight windows than any other quarterback. So I wanted to go a little deeper into that stat, and I found the stat by Football Outsiders called failed completions. So essentially, and by the way, failed completions in 2021, you had 3,131 failed completions. That was a record by Football Outsiders. And in 2022, nearly 27% of all completed passes in the NFL were failed completions. So what's a failed completion? Well, failed completion is simply, if you know success rate, then you're somewhat familiar with this thought process at least. A failed completion is a first down completion that fails to gain at least 45% of the yardage needed for the first down. A second down completion that fails to gain at least 60% of the yards needed for the first down. And a third or fourth down pass completion that fails to gain 100% of the yards needed for the first down. So first down, 45% of the yards needed for the first down. Second down, failed to gain at least 60% of the yards needed for the first down. And third and fourth down, 100%. So that's pretty much the breakdown of failed completions. Dak Prescott, now, by the way, just so you know, Pat Mahomes, who's a beast, he led the NFL in failed completion percentage, which is a good thing. That means you are throwing the ball on first down and getting more than 45% of the yards needed for the first down. You're getting more than 60% of the yards needed for the first down on second down, and you're getting more than 100% of the yards needed for the first down on third and fourth down. So the higher you are up in these failed completion percentage rankings, basically the less prone you are for check downs and dump offs. Right? You don't want to be a check down Charlie. And that's basically kind of what this metric breaks down just in layman's terms. So Patrick Mahomes, he's not a check down Charlie. He does not check it down very often. He likes to go for the chains or go past the chains. So 18% was his failed completion rate. That was first in the NFL in 2021. He was second in failed completion attempt percentage, meaning the percentage of attempts that are short of the yard to gain, or at least 50 or 45% of the yards needed, 60% of the yards needed. And just so you know, Patrick Mahomes is at the top of this scale. Davis Mills last year, this is 2021 I'm talking about here, he was 31st. So go look at this past season. And by the way, Dak in 2021, he was 10th on this list in failed completion percentage, 23%, which is not that bad. Still, he was top 10. In 2022, though, Dak was 4th in failed completion percentage. He led the NFL in interceptions. In only 12 games, had 15 interceptions, but he was 4th in failed completion percentage. Patrick Mahomes was 2nd, at 17%. And if you look at failed completion attempt percentage, Patrick Mahomes was 2nd there too. Josh Allen was 1st in both of those categories, but Dak Prescott was 4th. Jimmy Garoppolo actually was 3rd. I know my man Harsh loves hearing that because he's a big Jimmy Garoppolo fan.
Yes, sir.
But Jimmy Garoppolo also, and people look at Jimmy Garoppolo as what? A game manager who doesn't really throw past the chains. He's not the guy that you want on third and long to be commanding your offense. He's not that type of quarterback. Truth is, in that Shanahan offense, I think a lot of the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff is yak yards, too, because nobody leads the NFL. Nobody has more NFL yak yards than the 49ers. So a lot of it could be yak yards. That's still him operating at a really high level within the construct of the offense. But I was shocked to see that Dak Prescott basically hates checking it down and hates dumping it off. Now, this could be a flaw in his skill set, too. But when you look at him leading the NFL in tight window throws, combine that knowledge with also the knowledge that I've just given you here that he's basically top 5 in the NFL in failed completion percentage, meaning that he's checking it down very few, if any, times during the offense, and he's not a guy that's trying to dump it off. He's trying to throw to the chains or past the chains a lot of the times. Now, the question may be, should Dak be trying to check it down more often? Maybe that's the case. Maybe the Cowboys wide receivers don't create enough separation. That could also be the case. Why you went and got Brandon Cooks? Because you want receivers that can create more separation so Dak won't have to have so many tight window throws. And maybe because Dak likes to throw the ball downfield. And like I said, even in 2021, it still reflects Dak likes to throw the football downfield. He was first in failed completion percentage in 2019, which means he's throwing the ball downfield to the chains or past the chains.
Stretching.
Right? So he's in the last 3 years, he's been 1st, 10th, and 4th in failed completion percentage. And like I said, Patrick Mahomes is usually him and Josh Allen at the top of that list in 2022. Patrick Mahomes at the top of the list in 2021 because those guys stretch the field with their offenses, right? What do we know for Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? They throw down the field. Now, lately, because of teams putting too high shell coverages against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, big arm quarterbacks, they have thrown more underneath passes. As a matter of fact, in 2022, Patrick Mahomes only had 1 touchdown of 20-plus yards. Yeah, just 1. He didn't need to throw it downfield out, but it still doesn't mean he's not throwing the intermediate passes more. And I think those intermediate passes are getting you at the chains or past the chains, just not really throwing the deep ball a ton. He just have more nuance within his passing game now. And that's the thing with Dak. You know, where's the nuance in Dak's passing game? It's showing you here that Dak wants to push the ball downfield. Dak he doesn't want to dump it off. He doesn't want to check it down. Now, you could argue maybe he should be checking it down. Maybe he should be dumping it off. But I'm telling you that this is proof that big Dak energy does exist. He is not a guy that's trying to check it down. He is not scared. Obviously, the interceptions, that's a big part of that too. But him throwing in tight windows. So he's trying to give his wide receivers a chance. And I think the Cowboys' additions, their acquisitions in the offseason, and we'll see if they get any in the draft, but just bringing in Brandon Cooks, it's really going to create more separation and more space and create wider windows for Dak. Because right now, you got big Dak throwing through tight windows. And you need big Dak energy throwing through big windows. You got small windows and you got big Dak. All right? That doesn't fit. You need big Dak, big windows. Goes together. More compatible that way. Because he wants, like I said, the stats already show you, he's trying to push the ball downfield. But he's trying to push it to a hurt Gallup and to whoever the third wide receiver is for the Cowboys. Dalton Schultz, I guess.
I was going to say,
Dalton Schultz was that guy. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So that's, I think, to solve that problem, because like I said, all the stats show you that Dak's not going to stop pushing the ball downfield. That's what he does, and he's been one of the best at doing it in the last few years. But if you want to push the ball downfield, Brandon Cooks, still a great deep threat, can take the top off of a defense. That's going to create more separation. Or you're going to double CeeDee Lamb, then he's going to get one-on-one coverage. That's a guy that at one point in his career, hell, even with the Texans, was still a number 1 wide receiver. So I think looking at those stats and the acquisitions, it does make sense. They're just trying to create more windows downfield for Dak, because that's the one thing last season. Like I said, it was an outlier for him to turn the ball over that much. If I'm looking at what changed, and obviously there's a lot of personnel changes, always a lot of personnel changes, but why Dak became so high risk, high reward as a quarterback, I'm looking at the lack of separation from the wide receivers downfield, and that could be the Gallup injury, losing Amari Cooper. That's why they bring in Brandon Cooks, because both of those issues, essentially, it really regressed the offensive passing game for the Cowboys.
And the fact, too, now you got a different look of what the Cowboys are needing that they didn't have before. I mean, remember, you said it. They were missing that piece. They had it, but they missed it. And now they saw the regression, and even with the interceptions and all that stuff that went into it, there were still some times that maybe that interception doesn't happen if he hits one of those passes down the field.
Agreed.
You know, there's different ways to look at this. And no, I'm not defending Dak on any level because Dak was bad last year, and we all know that. But Dak is not a bad quarterback at all.
I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. I don't think last year, don't let that be an indictment on Dak,
Exactly.
the quarterback.
It's a one-off. If he comes back this year, then we got a bigger problem.
If you got Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb in that lineup with whoever the improvements and upgrades on offense, and you still get the same old Dak, you get small Dak energy instead of big Dak energy, then, yeah, maybe you got yourself a problem. I think Dak's going to bounce back because I think he was missing weaponry, and I think now they got him some really good weapons with Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb. All right, we come back. We'll go off the record on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn.
Mike Arch here, and I want to talk to you about my friends over at Pest Wranglers. PestWranglers.com is where you go for your pest control needs. Pest Wranglers is a locally owned small family business that's been around since 2006, and its basic principle of great customer service also leads to happy customers. The company was started by Steve Hunt, who was tired of companies that didn't know how to treat their employees and their customers right. So if you know that I'm working with them, then you know that is a must. Pest Wranglers is service most of the Central Texas area, and if you're needing help with mosquitoes, termites, rodent control, or inspections for residential or commercial properties, please give Pest Wranglers a call at 512-670-7808 or go to the website at PestWranglers.com. Pest Wranglers won't make you sign a contract because they keep their customers happy by keeping them happy. 5-star ratings on Google, Yelp, Angie's List, and all referral sites. My pest of the week, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They won the series against the Longhorns 2-1. And Rock Riggio and Jaron Watts-Brown were the pest of the week. He went 8 innings, allowing 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, and he struck out 12. We don't want those kind of pests around the area, so make sure you hit my friends up at PestWranglers.com.
Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. Who used to smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day, Patrick?
Otis Clay.
Wow. Man.
He's saying I used to do that and I had to quit, and it was the hardest thing ever to do until I had to live without you.
Wow. Okay.
It's a love song.
That's
Okay.
just, hey,
There you go.
That's a different way of starting it off.
I think she might have left you because you were smoking 5 packs of cigarettes.
Hey, he still sings like that?
I was just saying, I think it's why your woman left you, though. That's a lot of cigarettes in a day.
I don't know. Maybe she smoked 6.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe
5 of them. 5 packs
of cigarettes a day. Come on, man. You can be,
How you still alive?
you can be talking out your throat.
What
doing
you
that.
talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. There you go. My man Patrick always keeping us on our toes on a Smooth Soul Monday. All right, gentlemen. You know the show Hard Knocks, HBO's Hard Knocks, goes behind the scenes for an NFL team every year. Remember, there are stipulations on this. They don't have a first-year head coach. They haven't made the playoffs in 2 straight seasons, and they haven't been on Hard Knocks over the last decade. So that's like the selection criteria. The teams that meet the criteria to be selected for the training camp series are the Bears, Chicago Bears, the New Orleans Saints, the Jets, Jets, and the Washington Commanders. What say you, gentlemen? Who do you want to see with the Hard Knocks behind-the-scenes special this upcoming season?
Did you say the Jets?
The Jets
I
are on
want to
this
see
list.
them. I want to see them.
If they get Aaron Rodgers.
Not even if they get
it
him. I
doesn't
want
matter?
to see that. I
Regardless.
want to see all
With or
what's
without
going on.
Aaron Rodgers?
With or without them.
Okay.
Because they are drama.
They are drama.
They are drama. They are definitely something that you want to watch just because I want to see what's going on behind the scenes. I want to see Zach Wilson go in there and plead for his job back.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I want to see
That's some good drama.
Sauce Gardner going through the workouts and see if he is that dude. We know he is, but
that
I want to
dude.
see how it goes about.
Oh, no, he is that dude.
I want to I would say the Jets right away.
Patrick, what say you?
I don't watch Hard Knocks.
You've never seen an episode of Hard Knocks?
I've seen pieces of episodes. I
Okay.
don't watch any reality television. Just in general, I can't stand it, so I don't watch it.
Okay.
But I would say, for football's sake, it would be the Bears because I want to see if that team, if they're actually going to be the team, if they're going to be good or not. The Jets would be more fun because you're going to get more crazy stuff. I think the last time Jets were on Hard Knocks, maybe it's not the last time, but
Rex Ryan?
Rex Ryan's was
No,
it.
but they had.
Let me go get a damn
Who was the
sandwich.
cornerback with 78 kids and you didn't remember their names?
Wow,
Cromartie.
Cromartie. So you
Antonio
had that
Cromartie.
great moment for the Jets when they were on there. So
Yeah.
He didn't remember them all. He forgot.
no,
them.
he forgot the kids' names, which is.
And
I
he
mean, if
sad
you got
but
that
hilarious.
many, you probably do forget
Well,
them. You got to be
and-
like George Foreman.
And he was so
That's why you
post.
name all George.
he had post vasectomy kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he didn't follow the instructions correctly or if the doctor just didn't do it right.
No, he definitely did not follow the instructions.
Really?
He seems like
Maybe he's
a
just that
non-instructional. Bruh.
he is pretty potent.
Yeah, he's definitely that. He is definitely that.
potent.
My man gets it in.
But I
for
think
real.
you're right. I think either the doctor did it wrong or
Yeah.
he didn't follow the instructions. I think you're right. The Jets are probably the best one. And if you want football wise, Patrick's right. Bears are best football pick. But honestly, the Saints, I wouldn't doubt. They're pretty interesting though now with Derek Carr. The Saints. That might be something interesting though.
Yeah, but Dennis Allen is the coach.
Yeah, he's not very
Like,
interesting. He's pretty
I
boring.
can't get anything out of Dennis Allen.
No, I still can't even tell you how Dennis Allen sounds. I can't tell you how he sounds.
Exactly.
I don't
Well,
think
if you
I've ever heard
asked
Dennis
Travis
Allen.
Kelsey, you wouldn't know who he was
Exactly,
anyway.
yeah. He's definitely one of those coaches he did not
He
know.
did
Like,
not
I don't know who that guy is.
That Saints Hard Knocks is just Dennis Allen constantly checking in on the Broncos. That's just him seeing what's up with the Broncos.
Oh, it's good. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into Texas spring football scrimmage nuggets and updates right here on Ball Don't Lie 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick plays some jams that are intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. That was certainly the case for Texas baseball, Texas softball, for the Astros fans out there like myself. Go Stros! But Rangers fans feeling good about their weekend. Actually ended up undefeated, one of the 3 teams undefeated in Major League Baseball. And Steve Sarkisian apparently was happy too. My man Sark actually told my man Harsh that he liked the scrimmage.
He did. He did.
He felt good about it.
He said it was interesting scrimmage and very intense, so to speak. They said they got after it. Yeah, they said they got after it.
Positions on the line.
Exactly. And that's what we've been talking about for a while, when you can start building the depth. And that was the one thing for Texas. And I know I've been saying that word depth for a while, but it was for a long time we had the lack of depth that was there. And it was good to see that in the reports that continue to come out about how the practice went, where everybody was competing at a very high level.
Yeah, I got a few of these that I've compiled. We got a lot of, obviously, talk about how great it is to be in Austin and be a fan of Texas football. You have so many great entities covering the program, like our good friends over at Horns 24/7. Shout out to my man Jeff Howe, my man Chip Brown did a great job with his insider piece. But the good folks at Inside Texas doing a really good job with Bobby Burden and Jerry Hamilton, Eric and Eileen recently, Paul Wadlington over there doing a great job too, and even Orange Bloods, of course, doing a good job. So I kind of compiled basically practice reports from all of those different entities because a lot of information out there. I want to make sure I give you as much of that information as possible. Starting off with my man Chip Brown, who had a great report over there, his insider piece at Horns 24/7. I love that he said the defensive line, and there's been talk defensive line, and this is just from multiple reports prior to this one. The defensive line has been, I'm just going to say, I want to say this in a polite way, that they have owned the offensive line for the most part, that they have been the dominant side of the line of scrimmage for Texas during spring.
Okay.
That is not surprising.
No.
And that also there's talk there's a drop off on the second team O line from the first team O line. I think that is expected, but that group should be a strength for Texas this upcoming season. But I digress. My man Chip Brown points out they have a heavy package now that they debuted during the scrimmage. The heavy package is all 4 of their defensive tackles on the field at the same time. Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, and Vernon Broughton. And remember, last year, Texas may have had the deepest interior D-line in the country. If you stack on Moore Ojimo, and Kendrick Coburn with Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Alfred Collins, and Vernon Broughton. That's one of the deepest groups in the country. And, yes, you're obviously going to lose 2 of your marquee players at that position. But, man, you're still going to go 4 deep there. And you got 2 guys that are going to have NFL potential ceilings there, at least right now with Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and Alfred Collins. I mean, if it all clicks for him, we'll talk about him more in just a second. But if it all clicks for him, this is another guy that could also have an NFL ceiling. You got 2 guys who just left last year who are going to play in the NFL and be drafted. I mean, when it's all said and done, that interior defensive line from last year could end up with 5 NFL players.
Right.
On that interior D-line. That's crazy. Like drafted guys.
That's a beautiful
thing. Think about that.
That's a beautiful thing.
Coburn and Ojimo going to get drafted.
For sure.
We just don't know where.
Yeah.
I think Sweat's going to get drafted, too. He would have got drafted this year if he'd have left.
I think so,
a lot of
too.
people believe that.
That is a massive human being.
He's huge.
He's a massive.
And so is Alfred Collins.
Yes.
But Alfred Collins ain't got the tape that Sweat does.
Right.
Sweat's got tape.
Right.
And Byron Murphy has been the most consistent of all. Actually, even last year, he was one of the most consistent of all those interior D linemen. He was really good. He just overshadowed by Ojimo and Coburn. Man, they are deep there, and I love they're using that depth. Where are you weakest right now? Maybe I shouldn't say weakest. Where you have the most unproven commodities on
defense?
defense?
Where are the strength in numbers?
Where your unproven commodities at on defense, and your strength in numbers, by the way, yes, you're right, at D tackle. But your unproven commodities are at the edge.
Right.
You're not sure what you got there, right? Yeah, Baron Sorrell, but after that, you're not really sure what you got. You're bringing in Justice Finkley. Maybe Ethan Burke can be that guy, but you know.
And you brought in Colton Vasek as well.
Colton Vasek. You know that you got some dogs on that interior D-line. Why not put them out there situationally or depending on the matchup that week?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, if we can sit there and look and you say, okay, I can rush this package out there and be able to hold my team and make them one-sided, so to speak, where they have to go out there and either you've taken away the run from them, So now you can really have your back end of the defense really getting after it, the secondary getting after it. Or you can say, hey, guys, I want y'all to actually plug it up, but I want y'all to get to the quarterback as well, because that'll be another part of it too. I think those guys are strong enough and quick enough to be able to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Texas last year was one of the leading teams in the country in pressure. They were actually second by Pro Football Focus numbers in pressures on defense, which is a huge improvement from 2021. And that's when we get to a guy like Alfred Collins, who there's been a lot of talk about him inside Texas. Paul Waddington was talking about him today, and talking about how now it looks like he's found his right weight, and it looks like they found the place for him where they want him to play. And this is a guy that I thought should have been coming in playing every shade on the defensive line. I thought he's a guy that could have played on the edge, also played on the interior. Looks like they're going to settle him on the interior, playing that 3 or that 5 technique opposite whoever they see as their true nose tackle. But he's got all the raw measurables and raw material to be kind of a war daddy on the defensive line. For those who don't know what a war daddy is, essentially I look at a war daddy as a guy that cannot be blocked single team. You cannot be blocked by just one guy.
Yeah, Urban Dictionary approves of your message.
Right, it just basically cannot be blocked by one guy on any down. If he's blocked by one guy, he's going to blow that play up.
Exactly.
Wide open. All right, now, you don't have a lot of these guys, all right, but he's got the physical dimensions. He is not put on film that he is that guy. He is just flashed, not flashed enough, in my opinion, not consistently. But there's been a lot of talk, Harge, that this is the spring of Alfred Collins. All right, that this is the spring, like the summer of George.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the spring of Alfred Collins, where it all starts to click. It all starts to come together for him, because he's been right there on the cusp at times of making a breakthrough. We just haven't seen it, and he's in his 4th year now. It's now or never for Alfred Collins.
It is now or never.
It is.
It is that time, and all of the answers that we have been waiting for from him, they need to be now. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the Alfred Collins that we have been hoping to see. Now, I don't know if it's the motor thing. I don't know if it's the physical being able to adjust to certain things. I don't know what it's been for why it's taken him so long.
It's taken a while.
But if better late than never. You show up to the party, they glad to see you. You know what I'm saying?
No, this would be the perfect time for it, because last year you had an embarrassment of riches on the interior D-line. I'm going to say you didn't need them, but it wasn't an urgent need for you to have him assert himself, because you had Ojimo and Keandre Coburn. But remember, the last year with the light went off for Coburn.
Yeah. It did.
Prior to this, Coburn
because we've been waiting on him,
He was a situational player and really hadn't established consistency yet. We're worried about his motor, if he can be an every down player. Could he also pressure the quarterback, but also be stout against the run, take on double teams? He proved he can do all that. So the light came on at the right time for him. We're waiting on that moment for Alfred Collins in his 4th year. Now, consistency, same message, same terminology, same system. That also helps with Bo Davis, so I'm sure that it will. But this is the thing about Texas and the pressures, because they were right behind Clemson last year in quarterback pressures. Clemson had 287, Texas had 277. This, according to Pro Football Focus, by the way. But if you go look at sacks, Clemson had 40 sacks. Texas had 27.
Got to get to the quarterback.
Exactly. Pittsburgh was right under Texas. They were 3rd in pressures, 272. They had 45 sacks. So 1, 2, and 3 in pressures. Clemson, Texas, and Pittsburgh. Clemson 287, Texas 277, Pittsburgh 272. They both got 40-plus sacks out of their 270-plus pressures. Texas only got 27.
Yeah.
Right, so Texas conversion rate needs to be higher. As a matter of fact, we look at the top 10 in pressures in college football last season. Texas is number 2 behind Clemson. Texas is the only team to have fewer than 30 sacks. Everybody else had take it back. NC State in Texas. NC State had 24. So NC State and Texas were the only schools in the top 10 in pressures to have fewer than 30 sacks.
Man.
Houston had 30 on the dot. But NC State with 24, Texas with 27. So you do need to figure out a way to convert more of your pressures into sacks. You're close. You're right there. You're close. You're so close, but no cigar type thing. You want to find out a way to finish some of those plays. And that's why a guy like, it's another name that's come up a ton recently. And shout out to my man Chip Brown, because he brings up this name as well over the Horns 24/7. He's insider piece, but also Alex Dunlap.
Yeah.
Over the Orange Bloods also brings up Ethan Burke.
Yep.
Says the sophomore defensive end is turning some heads. He's played defensive end. They've moved him around. My man Chip Brown points out that they've also found some versatility with him, flashing at jack end, also using his length, so he's altered some passes. So they like what they've seen out of Ethan Burke. Alex Dunlap of Orange Bloods points out he has gotten some work with the first team, but most of his work comes with the second team. But Justice Finkley is considered to be the starter opposite Baron Sorrell, but don't be surprised if you start seeing more, or at least hearing more, from Ethan Burke. They love his frame. 6'6", 6'7", 250. He probably can put on 20 more pounds.
He can.
And it wouldn't even, you know, I think he'd carry it really well.
Yeah.
So that's another guy. And so on that defensive line alone, you're getting a lot of reports that, you know, if Alfred Collins can step up, assert himself, so a guy like Ethan Burke, you know, that could end up being a strength position. You know you're loaded in the interior D-line. You just got to figure out a way to solidify the edges.
Yeah.
And I think they can do that too. They got bodies to do it.
I was going to say, they have the bodies, but now it's time for a bunch of guys to start stepping up and being able to attack and take advantage of the situations and the opportunities that they're given. I mean, you can lead them to the water. You can't make them drink. You can put them in the right position, but if they don't handle it right, you got to move. And, you know, he wants to win. And that's the other part of it. Are you ready to take that next step as far as you possibly can? And this is a huge, huge year for a lot of those guys on that defensive line.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Also, another name that just keeps coming up, Sark himself mentioned this name, since we're staying on the defensive side of the ball. And Sark brought this guy up last week when he was asked who has stood out to you, who separated themselves during the spring. Keaton Crawford. Name keeps coming up, and even all the reports also reflected. Anwar Richardson had a really complimentary report about Keaton Crawford, how he stepped up. This is a guy that changed positions from cornerback to safety. Coaches like that. Remember what else they liked about Anthony Cook? They want their safeties to be able to cover in man-to-man. Keaton Crawford can do that. He is also kind of a physical freak, one of the fastest guys on the team. It was also pointed out that in high school, I was listening to a report over at Inside Texas, that in high school, he was more of an offensive player that ended up situationally being used and matchup-wise being used on defense when they had to go up against a really outstanding offensive receiver of some kind. And that, you know, he now just may be settling into being a true defensive back. And remember, so not only in high school being used in a number of different ways and situationally on defense, but then coming in as a cornerback and then switching over to safety, I can tell you that can be for some players, not for everybody, but that can be a pretty jarring transition for some players. Yeah. And maybe for him it was. And now it sounds like he is making a ton of plays, and he might force Texas to think about some dime packages or quarter packages. Dime packages, 6 DBs, quarter packages, 7 DBs, because they got a lot of really good DBs out there right now.
And think about that. That would confuse the heck out of everybody if you run a package out there like that. Because you're trying to figure out who goes where. And as a quarterback, I'm seeing all these defensive backs out there. Where am I going with it? Because there really wouldn't be a mismatch. It would definitely, you would have to audible to a run play. But you can't outrun these dudes because all these dudes are fast.
They are.
And they come downhill and make plays. So it would be an interesting thought process to have that many defensive backs on the field. I know they've done it at times, but not at that level. And then if you have that much speed, where's your mismatch?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You're right about that. Todd Orlando, he's the last one to run kind of that dime package as close to his base with 6 DBs. He called it his lightning package. Honestly, Pete Kwiatkowski, very rarely you see him out there with a dime package, 6 DBs. But I don't know if he's ever been this deep. There was some talk that, and I was listening to a report over at Inside Texas, that they are right now pleasantly surprised by the depth they have in the secondary. When we think about it, Jerry Thompson, Jalen Catalon, who's dealing with the shoulder injury. That's why Keaton Crawford's getting so many reps. But those are three good safeties. Jahdae Barron was great last year. Was one of the best young DBs in the Big 12. And you know you got Ryan Watts, so that's 5 DBs that you believe can give you some starting caliber reps. And we like what we saw from Terrence Brooks last year. I think Terrence Brooks could end up winning that field cornerback spot, but the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, but is, since we're talking about the DBs and how deep they are, they're deep at safety now with the ascent, if you will, of Keaton Crawford, but also Gavin Holmes.
Yep.
Apparently bringing him in from Wake Forest via the transfer portal, redshirt sophomore, 5'11", 175, and he's going to his 4th year. But there's talk now that he's made enough plays on the football, had an interception during red zone versus Quinn Ewers. Eric Nylene, Inside Texas, says he's been making plays like that all season long, and he plays man-to-man really well, which is what this coaching staff wants to do. He is making things really interesting for Malik Muhammad and for the sophomore Terrence Brooks. So don't be surprised if Gavin Holmes, you see him in the spring game, is getting some run.
I like
the first team.
Oh, I'm definitely on board with it. We saw it happen with Ryan Watts. Ryan Watts was my pick to click for the year. As soon as he got to the University of Texas, I told you, I was like, this dude's going to be one of my favorite players because of the length that he has on his arms, his reach, where he can try to move people off of their routes. I thought that was going to be big. And Gavin Holmes, this dude's got some skins on the wall. He played in the ACC. Wake Forest wasn't a bad team. They had some players too. And for him to be able to go out and do the things that he was capable of doing, and now coming to the University of Texas and really getting acclimated pretty quick and understanding what is being asked of him, that's huge. But that comes with the experience as well.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Speaking of experience, another name that keeps coming up on defense, and then we'll give you a couple of guys who stood out on offense, David Benda. Yep. Jeff Howe brought him up on Longhorn Blitz last week and said all of his sources are telling him David Benda has been really consistent this spring, has been one of the most consistent defensive players. And he came out of nowhere because I think everybody had given up on David Benda being an impact player. But it turns out with Jalen Ford solidifying his spot at off-ball linebacker, David Benda right now, maybe motivated by them, bringing in Anthony Hill and some of these other, Mo Blackwell becoming a favorite of others like my man Jeff Howe. Maybe he's motivated by those guys, but multiple reports. Eric Nylene also jumps in there too of saying David Benda looks faster and has been a running back. Yeah, you go. Has been a spring. How many times has he?
He's been a flip-flopper on positions. Right? He's trying to figure it out. But
maybe he's figured it out. And if he has, that would be a huge asset for Texas, considering most of us thought it'd be one of the youngsters or Mo Blackwell that would win that job opposite of Jalen Ford, off-ball linebacker. But if you can get David Benda to take his game to another level, that's just more depth.
Yep.
More talented depth you got.
And that is something that Texas has been lacking for quite some time, the depth. Now Sark is doing his job and bringing it to the point where you're getting more people coming to the University of Texas that are high-end players where they're going to get that opportunity to perform at a very high level. So it's been fun to watch and definitely something that we're going to continue to pay attention to. But the spring game is right around the corner.
It is, man.
It'll be the first time that we get to see a lot of these guys in action and seeing what this new look Texas Longhorn football team is going to be like post those great players that you were talking about that are now going to test their waters in the NFL.
Yeah, a lot of talk just offensively really quickly. Savion Red continues to get a ton of love. I can't wait to see that, too. I can't either. Right? I noticed that Savion Red is getting rave reviews. We talked about how Jerry Hamilton said to Short Choice has talked about, him being really a natural running back. And they're not even talking about now his power.
Yeah.
They said he has, running back power.
Like he's going to be the short yardage guy.
Yeah, like he has got real power. And I'm like, what, that kind of power? So he's basically kind of a wide receiver and a running back body. And they plan on using him, and they were working him in the third team. He's getting some third-team reps in that first scrimmage. And I think, they can continue to see if he can be one of those hybrid weapons potentially. I know people keep bringing up Deebo Samuel. That's not fair to Deebo or to Savion Red, but I do think in terms of the versatility element to add a positionless football element to the offense. Man, maybe Savion Red is that guy because there are nothing but good reviews and complimentary reviews about him coming out of the spring.
And everybody's been talking about it from the very first practice when they moved him to running back. And we kept saying, most of the time when you get moved like that, it's either you're on your way out or there's something else that's involved in it. But originally they were saying because of the fact that there was a lack of depth there because Jonathan Brooks was hurt.
The injuries.
He was coming out of an injury. Jaden Blue was still trying to come along. You still had Cedric Baxter, who was coming in January, but you didn't know what was going to happen with that. So now you actually have somebody that's been in the program and he's taking it and getting after it, and you got to give a lot of love to Tashard Choice of getting him up to speed on everything.
Yeah, he's been great as a coach, but also as a recruiter, too. He's been phenomenal. Speaking of those running backs, Cedric Baxter, a lot of really good reports about him. There's another report says he runs a little straight up for a young running back. That's a report coming from Horns 24/7. I believe Taylor Gaspar had that one. And also that there's a drop-off between the first-team O-line and the second-team O-line. I believe the source said at Horns 24/7, there's a big difference between starting O-line and the twos.
Yep.
Which I'm not surprised by that at all because I wonder how they're rotating the ones and the twos too. So I wonder how that works out. And also, quick nugget on the quarterbacks. One source, this is Taylor Gaspar over at Horns 24/7. She says one source said it was pretty obvious Arch Manning is the third-string QB at this point in spring. The source said Manning makes some good throws, but he is understandably raw and still has a lot of learning to do before he's ready to compete for the starting job. Quinn Ewers had a pretty mistake-free day. A source said Ewers looked really good, and you can see he's making strides.
I love it.
But also Malik Murphy had a decent scrimmage, according to the source. He was sacked a few times, but still had a good showing. And obviously cemented in the backup role, it would seem.
A lot of people have been begging to see Malik. Well, you're going to get your opportunity here on April 15th. You'll get a chance to go over there and see the young man get to work. I'm excited to see him, too, because I don't think people truly understand how big he is. The first game of the year last year, I was on the field, and I was like, Malik is huge.
Yeah, he looks like I'm with you. He does. I've seen him before. He towers above some of the other guys. He's legit. What do he say? He's 6'4" or something?
6'4", 6'5".
It's legit though.
Yeah,
it's every bit of it.
Yeah,
but
that's not just for the roster.
Yeah,
right. That's not just for the roster card. My man is big.
Well, the only thing that was holding him back from competing for that backup job was
the injuries. Yeah,
I mean, he can't make the club in the tub. I think he got motivated by all the talk about Arch Manning. To show everybody that his time on the 40 acres also had come. So he wanted to let everybody know. So there you go. A couple of nuggets about Texas spring football scrimmage and a couple of updates from the spring. We come back. Peter King is making an outlandish suggestion about the Texans and what they may or may not do in the NFL draft. We'll talk about that. And also the odds of Bijan Robinson becoming a Cowboy seem to be increasing by the day. All of that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. Wonderful on the Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday. You know what this one is. That's right. Everybody knows it. Hopefully it puts you in a calm, cool, and collected mood. Usually Smooth Soul Monday intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who might have had a tough weekend, or at least their team might have had a tough weekend. You can be a part of the show. Specs Text Sound's the best way to do it, 512-337-3776. You also hit us up via Twitter. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. Harge at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. Patrick Davis, the real MVP at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I like that. It's a nice jam right there. All right.
Show you right.
Yeah, you can get deep like Barry.
I can.
You can get deep like Barry a little bit.
Show you right.
Midnight DJ kind of vibes going on.
I like it.
Let's talk about the odds for Bijan Robinson to become a Dallas Cowboy because they seem to be increasing. I looked at Bet Online at my bookie. All right, shout out. And they have Bijan Robinson odds, the team that will draft him. The Dallas Cowboys have the best odds at 4-1. Then the Commanders, 9-2. Then Chargers are at 5-1 odds. So, and then the Eagles, next after them, 15-2 odds. Eagles should be a little higher.
I think the Eagles
but no, because they signed an actual running back.
They did. They signed him to a 1-year deal, and they have that. They have those 2 picks.
I agree with it. I think that once you sign the reason why I like the Cowboys is because Tony Pollard's hurt. You don't know when you're getting him back, and when you do, you don't know if you're getting him at 100% for a little bit. So if you want to have this, we're going to run the ball offense, you have to get another running back. And what is the cost to trade up a couple spots to get Bijan versus trading to get Derrick Henry or trading to get Dalvin Cook and having to pay him, or trading to get Austin Eckler? Like, what's the cost if you have to go get another running back now? What the cost seems less to get Bijan for a better return.
No, I agree. But I just think another team is thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
I think that's and the Cowboys are lower. They're 26, and I think there's 2 to 3 other teams thinking exactly like you're thinking. And I think it's Buffalo. I think Philly's having that conversation, and I think Atlanta. Atlanta's 8-1 here, and they're having that conversation too.
And this is with Buffalo.
I mean, because they can always trade down and get better value.
I think Buffalo should be thinking it. I don't think they are. I don't think they care about running the ball.
They're stupid if they're
because
not.
they just don't. Like, they trade for Naheem Hines last year, not for a real. Like,
I know.
You trade for a backup running back, not a starting running back.
It's literally the most obvious.
Oh,
like,
it's obvious.
It's the most obvious flaw of their model and their blueprint.
I agree with you.
And it's like, if y'all could just get a running back so Josh Allen doesn't have to be the top runner and rushing threat too. But you're right. Maybe they're not. But my point is there's other teams thinking about how you're thinking, how you believe the Cowboys are thinking. They should be anyway. But, yeah, the Cowboys have the best odds. And I looked at basically the mock draft. They're kind of a mock draft machine, if you will, at Pro Football Network. And they claim that in the last 7 days, the majority of their mock drafts, 15% of them, over 15% of them, have the Cowboys taking Bijan Robinson. So everybody's, it seems to be, and by the way, was it Dane Brugler?
Yeah, it was
Dane
Brugler.
Brugler.
Yep.
Dane Brugler recently said that the Cowboys are drafting at 26 and Bijan Robinson falls something, they have to take him. Like, it's just, it'd be
I don't think Bijan gets to 26 though.
Yeah,
if he gets to 26,
if
he gets to 26 and the Cowboys don't take him, I told y'all last week, I will be so upset, regardless of the need. You always tell us you take the best player available on your board.
Yeah,
he would be the best player on your board.
So we're saying if the Texans take Will Anderson at 2 instead of a quarterback, and the Cowboys pass on Bijan Robinson, we're all just going to be very mad the next day at work.
Which one would be more egregious? The Texans taking Will Anderson
taking Bijan
at 2?
at 26. Because the Texans, I could believe they had a game plan. I don't agree with it, but I could believe it. If the Cowboys say, we're not going to take this thing that a real need for us, who could really help us win, and he fell to us.
But you could also argue deepest running back draft we've had in 10 years.
Yeah.
You could also argue, and the Cowboys didn't take advantage of it. It's still a deep free agency class of running backs, and you still can trade for running backs if you want to. So they could argue, I can go get a Rojo in the 4th. I'll take a more urgent need on the O-line, on the D-line, value-wise at the first pick.
Yeah.
So but I'm not disagreeing with you. I think it would be. It would be an egregious error in judgment.
And I'd say most of those teams, if you're in the 20s and not getting someone else to trade for you, for a guy who's a top 10 talent in the draft in the 20s.
No, I think
I think you should be calling every team and saying, can we get a can we get a deal done?
Yeah.
I think Buffalo should be trading up for him. I think but if I was Buffalo, that'd be my top priority, honestly. It's not theirs, but it would be mine.
Yes,
I'm trading up to the teens and I'm getting Bijan.
Yeah.
That would be mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Successful draft right
They're
there.
going to draft another wide receiver, and I'll be like, "What do really
Exactly.
you have wide receivers?"
If they don't, oh man, you're right. But they should get a really good running back even in the middle rounds in this draft. Okay, real quick, let's talk about the Texans here for a second because Peter King has suggested that the Texans, based on some of his sourcing, that they could go elsewhere, another position other than quarterback at the number 2 overall pick. So what he's saying is basically the Texans pick it. He said the Texans also pick at 12th. And he said that he's 90% sure they're going to take a quarterback, but he says Nick Caserio is conservative. He's heard about Nick Caserio being conservative. And he also said Alabama pass rusher Will Anderson is seen as the cleanest prospect in the draft and a more of a sure thing in the draft than any of the quarterbacks. And he says he could see the Texans taking Will Anderson at 2 and then essentially trading back up into the first round with that 12th pick and then getting a quarterback there, potentially. I guess maybe a Will Levis or some other quarterback that drops.
Come on, man.
I agree.
Come on, man.
This would be terrible. You thinking this is all because you screwed up the tankathon.
Right.
Ended up with the number 2 overall pick. And now, by the way, there's another report. We won't go deep into it. There's another report from Peter King. Actually, it was the report right ahead of the Texans report that there's at least a front office exec that believes the Texans could be thinking about taking Will Anderson at number 2 overall, but also reports that there is discussion happening within the front office and the management of the Panthers, and they are split on which quarterback they want to take because the management and the ownership like Bryce Young, but Frank Reich reportedly favors C.J. Stroud. So there's talk about that as well. So if that is the case, that they favor Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud, and let's just say that this report is somehow linked because it is in the same report. It is the 1 and 2 as a part of Peter King's Football Morning America. Maybe the Texans and the Panthers are both falling for Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. And if that's the case, the Texans need to go up and get the number 1 overall pick so that they can get Bryce Young. Maybe this is all gamesmanship by the Panthers, but the Texans, you can't afford to play games.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to play games anymore. You need to go get your guy, Bryce Young, if that's your guy. All right? Fight for him if he's the one you want. Fight for him. Trade for him. Go get him.
Fight for the girl.
If that's the one you want.
Yours.
If that's the one. But I don't know what they want. Nobody knows what the Texans and the Panthers want at this point. But if the Texans are sure about their quarterback, go trade up to number 1 spot and get your guy. If they're waiting to settle for whatever the Panthers leave them, I think they're going to end up regretting it.
Yeah. And if you what was been the purpose of the tanking? You know what I'm saying? Like,
get your guy to have the number 1 overall pick.
Exactly.
You're choosing your choice of whoever the quarterback is. I don't know what's happening here.
And I watched an interview the other day with the I guess he's the president of the Houston Texans, and he was talking about DeMeco Ryans. They were doing a charity golf event, and he was speaking to a bunch of the people that were at this golf event, and he was like, "We're just waiting for the draft and everything. We see that y'all are back with us. I know y'all been dealing with a lot, but we are on the right." He used the Deion. We're coming.
Oh, did he really?
He used the Deion. We're coming.
That means they drafted Bryce Young.
I mean,
because you draft Will Anderson, you can't be talking about you coming.
Exactly.
With Will Anderson, they don't get nobody excited.
We coming.
We coming. Where you
Will
going?
Anderson?
Exactly. With Will Anderson? No. All right.
Maybe he was coming off the edge.
You know exactly. If you coming or going. All right, we'll come right back. We'll wrap it up, put it together right here on Ball Don't Lie. What if we're not knowing? All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie. Getting ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven. If you missed any part of any of the shows, please go to hornfm.com. You can catch up with them on the podcast page. What's on tap for you, Hart, before we get out of here?
I'm going to watch the national championship game, and I do want to give a special shout-out to Teddy and Phil. They came up and talked to me at the basketball game, my son's basketball game.
Hey.
Listeners to the show, love the show.
Shout out.
And shout out to Patrick for the great music that he always plays.
Thank you.
What's on tap for you, Patrick?
My buddy is playing over at Antone's. He's been on tour. I'm going to go see him and record the game. And Instant Serious, moving to Thursday nights.
Like that.
Starting in a week, we'll no longer be on Mondays. We're moving to Thursday nights. So Soccer Matters up next. No Instant Serious. We are moving to Thursdays.
Getting the weekend started the right way. I like that. I'm going home to watch some national title basketball. We'll come back tomorrow and talk about it. All of that right here on Ball Don't Lie. Remember, the revolution will not be till I talk about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. Mean it. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Peace.